Give it to me hard, he growls. You want to be able to feel me tomorrow? I murmur, leaning over to bite down on his earlobe and grabbing his hips at the same time. Luca bobbles his head and rasps, yes. I pull back, then slam home again, finding a punishing rhythm that pushes me quickly right back towards the edge. Luca's ass cheeks jiggle and bounce with every hard thrust, the sound of our slapping skin filling his apartment, along with our harsh breaths and choked moans. I wrap my hand around his throat again, and his next moan vibrates against my palm, low and deep and so fucking needy that it twists itself around my balls. Anders, he gasps my name. That's right. Come on my cock like the good slut we both know you are, I growl. Luca throws his head back with a wail, and I double my efforts, fucking him harder and deeper as I chase the tight heat coiling in my gut, tighter and tighter. I can feel his channel constricting and his muscles fluttering, and with one more broken shout, he comes unraveled. The spasms of his orgasm drag mine to the surface too, my thrust stuttering as a wave of pleasure washes over me. My cock pulses and jerks, spilling deep inside of him, making me wish there wasn't anything between us so we could spend the rest of the night with my cum dripping from his ass. We grind and gasp our way through pleasure that seems to go on until Luca's knees give out and we both tumble back to the floor. I collapse on top of him, nuzzling the back of his neck, my cock still inside of him, twitching with aftershocks that are keeping it from softening just yet. Anders, Luca says my name softly. I press a soft kiss to his earlobe before finally pulling out to get rid of the condom. While I do that, he rolls over, cum smeared all over his rumpled shirt and clinging to his spent cock. I can't resist leaning over him and lapping the remains off of his tender skin. He hisses and winces, his hips jerking with the oversensitivity of it as I nibble his foreskin. Then I flop down, stretching out between his legs, my head on his belly, looking up at him. No one is ever going to hurt you again. Understand? He says, fierceness in his eyes, in spite of the exhaustion in his voice. My heart clenches with something dangerous. Hope, maybe? It can't be this easy. And even if Luca is willing to protect me, what about Finn? But maybe just for tonight, I'll let myself believe it, as a treat. I deserve something nice for a change, don't I? Even if it's probably just a fantasy. Chapter 10. Anders. There's a lovely moment of near consciousness when all I'm aware of is how comfortable my bed feels this morning and how wonderfully heavy my limbs are with an unfamiliar sense of sleepy relaxation. And then the bed shifts behind me and it's my animal brain that comes online first. I'm not alone in my bed. This isn't even my bed. I drag in a panicked gasp and start to scramble out of the strange bed, barely awake enough to register anything other than my racing heart and unfamiliar surroundings. The mattress shifts again, and a warm, heavy arm flops over me, pinning me down before I can make it out of the bed. Running on pure instinct and adrenaline, I jerk my arm back. My elbow connects with soft flesh, and there's a muttered, fuck, as I leap out of bed. The cool wood floor under my feet shocks me, my chest heaving with gasping breaths and adrenaline. In the fraction of a second it takes me to spin around to face the man I just elbowed, last night comes flooding back to me. Running to Finn's rescue, dinner with Luca, fucking him on the floor like our lives depended on it. Shit, I'm sorry. I grimace and scramble back onto the bed. My heart is still pounding, but at least I know where I am now. Which means I have an entirely new list of fears to deal with, but they can wait another 30 seconds or so. Are you okay? Luca sits up in bed, rubbing his cheek where my elbow must have landed. His dark hair is standing up in all directions, a hazy, sleepy look still in his eyes despite the rude awakening I just gave him. The sheets pool around his waist, leaving his bare chest and long, lean muscles on display, while the morning sun streams in through the gap in the curtains and casts a glow over his olive skin. The low, raspy chuckle he lets out tugs at my groin. In the future, I'd prefer to be awake when you're getting rough with me in bed, but I'm fine. He hooks a hand around the back of my neck and drags me close. His hot breath bathes my lips, and his nose bumps against mine, but he doesn't close the gap to kiss me. It takes me a few beats to realize he's waiting for me to kiss him. That realization hits me in the chest like a bolt of electricity, and I jerk back. What the fuck am I doing here? All it took was a cheap meal at a diner and a few nice words from Luca to make me forget that none of this is for me. He has this way of looking at me and seeing me like no one else has, like he actually gives a shit about who I am and what I want, and it's fucking with my head. Where are you going, little viper? Even the purr in his voice makes me want to spend a little bit longer pretending all the bullshit in my life can't touch me anymore. The stupid nickname on his lips makes me feel strong and capable, just like how he described me when we first met. It's the same way he makes me feel when he melts under my touch. Home. I cast my gaze around his tidy bedroom for a second before remembering that I left my clothes in a heap on his living room floor last night. No, he says in a voice that's completely devoid of the submissive whimper I'm used to hearing when he's naked. The sheets rustle, and then I can feel him standing right behind me. No? I scoff, dragging my fingers through my hair to tame it, already heading for the living room. Luca grabs my arm. His grip is loose, but when I try to shake him off, he tightens it, and I growl. You said this wasn't a kidnapping, I remind him, turning back to face him again with a hard set to my jaw. He might be taller than me, even when I draw myself up to my full height and look him right in the eye, but his words ring in my head. I think you're a venomous snake waiting to sink your fangs into anyone who dares to tangle with you. I think you've learned to fake the role of helpless little lamb, but deep down you're the predator biding your time until you're ready to strike. I think there's fire in you. Maybe he's right. I've made myself smaller because it was safer, because it was the best way I could protect my brother, but that doesn't mean I'm helpless. It's not a kidnapping, he says, his fingers still wrapped around my bicep, the warmth of his hand making my skin tingle and my cock thicken. But I can't leave, I clarify, narrowing my eyes at him. No, he says again. I also said I'd protect you, and I can't do that if you run right back to the person who's hurting you. I huff and shake his hand off. This time he does release me, but he also takes another step closer. With the bedroom door at my back, I'm not trapped, but he's right. With nowhere to go except right back to my father, I kind of am. Listen, Tony Soprano, I know this is probably going to be hard for you to hear, but waving your dick, your gun, and your last name around won't solve every problem. Fine, then let's sit down. I'll make you some breakfast, and you can tell me what I need to know so I can solve this problem. The steely confidence in his voice almost makes me believe it could be that simple, that all I have to do is tell him everything, and he'll make it go away. My stomach rumbles, and Luca's lips twitch with a smirk, like he's won this round. Fuck it. Fine. I'll let him cook me some fucking pancakes and tell him all the humiliating details. He'll see that I'm not the capable badass he's convinced himself I am, and maybe this silly, obsessive crush of his will die a natural death. My stomach twists, but I don't let it show on my face. Can I at least have something comfortable to wear? Or are you going to keep me naked as long as I'm your prisoner? I ask dryly. Luca smirks. Has anyone ever told you you're extremely dramatic? Never, I deadpan, and he chuckles. He brushes his lips over mine, and it feels like another electric jolt, but this time it makes me want to lean into him rather than run away. The touch doesn't linger long enough, though. He turns and strides over to his dresser, pulling open the top drawer and grabbing 2 pairs of lounge pants and 2 t-shirts. He keeps one set for himself and tosses me the other. The pants are made of some kind of ultra-soft cotton that feels almost fluid against my legs as I tug them on. When I finish getting dressed, I look over at Luca and find him watching me with a heated, possessive look in his eyes. It should make me panic. I'm so fucking done with being owned and used and controlled by other people, but for some reason it feels different with Luca. He says he doesn't want to crush me into a specific shape or grind all my rough edges smooth, and I think I believe him. I stop in the living room to find my phone while he heads into the kitchen to start breakfast. My clothes are scattered on the floor, and there's dried cum crusted onto the hardwood. My insides sizzle with the memory of last night, but I push it aside as I pull up Finn's contact information on my phone and press the button to call. I pace back and forth, dragging my fingers absently along the back of the black leather couch while I wait for my brother to answer. It takes too damn many rings, but eventually he answers. "Yeah," he rasps, clearly still half asleep. The breath punches out of my lungs, and I stop pacing to lean against the back of the couch instead. "Finny, Jesus, how are you feeling?" He rumbles, and then I hear sheets rustling and a quiet groan. "Like someone parked a truck on top of my skull?" I let out a relieved laugh. Yeah, the hangover from a roofie is no fucking joke. "Fuck," he mumbles. "Is that what happened? I barely remember." There's rustling and creaking again, and then Finn sounds a lot more alert. "Shit, Ans, you didn't kill somebody, did you?" "Of course not," I say quickly. At least, I don't think I did. That fucker would have deserved it if I had, though. "You can't..." I can practically see the exasperated way my brother must be rubbing his hand over his face right now. "I told you when we were kids, you can't do that thing where you go all feral to protect me." I grunt noncommittally. He has no idea how far I've gone to protect him, and he never will if I can help it. There are very few truly good people in this world, but Finn is one of them. Sometimes he's too sweet, too trusting, too naive. That's when shit like last night happens. But I'd rather spend the rest of my life jumping in to save him than to have him take off his rose-colored glasses and see the world for the shit heap it really is. "Ans," he says with a sigh. "I love you, and I'm always going to protect you," I say simply. "Now, go back to sleep and text me later when you feel human again. Plenty of water, aspirin, and greasy food, and you should be feeling better in no time. Do you want me to order you some breakfast?" "No, I'm fine. Thanks, though." "Of course. I'll talk to you later, okay?" "Yeah," he agrees. "And Anders?" Finn clears his throat. "Thanks. Always."
Luca. While Anders calls to check in on his brother, I start coffee and rummage through my refrigerator to see what I have. I'm in need of a trip to the grocery store, but I can do eggs and toast at least. My skin tingles with the awareness that Anders is here, in my apartment, letting me cook him breakfast. He might still be baring his teeth like a stray dog who's not ready to trust me yet, but I can work with that. It's endearing as hell, actually. But obviously, I'd prefer it if his snarls were sassy and fun instead of due to fear. After we got cleaned up and climbed into bed last night, I sent Sal a text telling him I need a meeting with the big boss himself, Lorenzo. Anders was right about one thing. I can't just go waving my gun around to solve every problem, at least not without the green light from on high. I'm going to protect him one way or another, though, and it'll be a hell of a lot easier if I can get Lorenzo's blessing to take care of the problem. I look over my shoulder at the sound of Anders' shuffling footsteps. He pulls out one of the chairs that's tucked under the small table in the corner of the kitchen and takes a seat. "How do you take your coffee?" I ask. "Oh, I can get it." He starts to stand up again. "Sit," I command. Anders raises both eyebrows at me but sinks back down into the seat. "Sorry, but you've got to give me a chance to spoil you a little. How am I supposed to woo you if you get all feisty and independent about something as simple as coffee?" "I thought you liked me feisty," he mutters, and I grin. "Believe me, little viper, I do." I push the eggs around in the pan and then turn to pour coffee into one of the mugs I set out. "Black is fine," he says. "It's fine, or it's how you like it." Something tells me he's gotten way too used to taking whatever he can get, but that's going to change. Give me a few weeks and he'll be just as comfortable demanding everything he wants outside the bedroom as he is inside of it. He's quiet for a few seconds, and I glance over to see his jaw set stiffly and a frustrated look in his eyes. "If you have flavored creamer, just a splash of it," he finally says. I grin and open the fridge again to grab the French vanilla cream I keep on hand. "If you have a favorite flavor, write it down and I'll make sure to pick it up next time I'm at the store." I add just a splash like he asked for, then carry it over to the table for him. Anders grunts his thanks in a tone that would sound dismissive if it weren't for the fact that he also reaches out and squeezes my hand before letting me get back to the eggs. "He wasn't always such a shithead," he says once I'm back in front of the stove with my back to him. "Who?" "My dad. My jaw ticks and my fingers tighten around the spatula in my hand. I had a feeling, but hearing him confirm that it's his own father doing this to him makes me want to tear the man apart with my bare hands. I hear Anders take a sip of his coffee and the scrape of the chair against the floor as he shifts in his seat, and then he goes on. Or maybe he was, and my mom just had a way of keeping that side of him from us. Like the way he's hiding it from his brother. Anyway, he says, clearing his throat while I pull the toast out of the toaster and start to butter it. I want to turn around and go sit with him, but I think there's a reason he started talking while I was cooking. I think it's hard enough for him to tell me his secrets without having to look me in the face while he does it. After she died, things started going bad pretty quickly. He was drinking a lot and doing drugs. I think he got into debt with some bad... He huffs out a laugh. Honestly, probably with the Morettis. I frown. He forced you to prostitute yourself because he owed us money? I growl through clenched teeth. No. He did it because he's a greedy fucker who saw a meal ticket and took it. Bitterness drips from Anders' voice. I move the pan off the burner and give in to the urge to go sit with him. I pull out the chair next to his and scoot close so my knee bumps against his. He stares into the depths of his coffee, but he lets me take his hand, curling his fingers around mine with a faraway look in his eyes. The first time he did it, he just brought some guy over to the house and told me I had to... He lets out a dark laugh and I squeeze his fingers tighter, another wave of murderous rage washing through me. I told him if the guy wanted a blowjob that my dad's sloppy drunk mouth would probably do the trick. He didn't like that. He jerks his gaze away from his coffee to meet mine, a sarcastic little smile twisting on his lips before falling away again. Long story short, he told me that if I was going to be a smart-mouthed little shit about it, he was sure Finn would be a lot more cooperative. Fire burns in his eyes and suddenly everything makes sense. So you've been doing it to protect your brother. Anders nods and lets out a breath, the tension leaking out of his body slowly as he takes another sip of his coffee. Don't make me a victim, Luca. I took a bullet for my brother and I would do it again. Okay? You're not a victim. I agree, unable to keep the awe out of my voice. You're a fucking superhero. I wrap my arms around Anders, dragging him out of his seat and into my lap. He comes easily, sinking into me and burying his face in the crook of my neck. I moan softly as his teeth scrape along the sensitive skin of my throat, right over my thundering pulse. See, that's why you can't keep me here, though. If I don't go home and keep giving him his money, at least for another 2 weeks, he could go after Finn. What happens in 2 weeks? My brother graduates. He already has a job lined up on the other side of the country. My dad won't be able to get to him, which means he won't have anything over me anymore. He nuzzles my throat again and this time presses a hot, soft kiss to the same spot. 17 more days is nothing after what I've already done to protect him. I tighten my arms around him and growl. No, I say again. There's a knock at the door and Anders stiffens in my arms. I kiss the top of his head and then move him back into his own chair. Help yourself to the food. I'll get that. I can tell Anders wants to argue, but I don't give him the chance. If it's who I think it is at the door, then his timing is impeccable. The only thing that's going to keep me from going off the fucking rails to track down Anders' father and put a bullet between his eyes immediately is Uncle Sal. I greet him as soon as I pull the door open. He grins at me and pats me on the shoulder. His eyes move down the length of my throat and heat creeps up my spine at the flat look he gives me. I tug uselessly at the low collar of my t-shirt, knowing there's nothing I can do to cover up the love bites and bruises Anders left all over me last night. I take it you found your man. He smirks and steps inside. I can hear the intentional clatter of silverware against the plate in the kitchen, and I fight back a smile at Anders' bratty form of protest. I lead Sal into the kitchen where Anders is still at the table, violently stabbing his eggs with a fork. Uncle Sal, this is Anders, my prisoner, Anders finishes for me. I thought we settled on boyfriend, I countered, returning his glare. Boyfriend, he agrees sagely. As long as boyfriend means someone you paid for sex, stalked, and then kidnapped and won't let leave. Sal makes a choking sound. Luca, my uncle rumbles my name in an admonishing tone. Most of that is only technically true. So I can leave? Anders says. No, I say again. He makes a feral sound and then bites into his toast so hard I'm surprised he doesn't break a tooth. I wish I could say this is the messiest start to a relationship I've seen, but it's not even top 3, Sal mutters, pinching the bridge of his nose. I chuckle and go back over to Anders, making sure to stay just out of ball-kicking range. Listen, here's what we're going to do, I say gently, and Anders' expression softens just a fraction. Can you send your dad the money you should have made last night? He hesitates for a second and nods. Okay, good. Text him and make up an excuse about why you aren't coming home, but tell him he doesn't need to worry. His money will still keep coming. When his posture relaxes a little more, I move close enough to cup his jaw and lean in close. I have to go have a terrifying meeting with Lorenzo this morning. So if you could lend me just a little bit of your venom, it would be extremely helpful. Anders huffs but closes the last inch of space between us, nipping roughly at my bottom lip before shoving his tongue into my mouth. I moan softly and kiss him back, soaking up his strength for just a second before we break apart again. So, I give my dad what he wants to keep him away from Finn for now. Then what? Is that the plan for the next 2 weeks? He asks. No. I'm going to go figure out a plan, and then we're going to take care of this. His nose bumps against mine and our eyes lock. Then I can leave? The question makes my throat tighten and my skin crawl. It's on the tip of my tongue to remind him of what I said last night. He's mine. I don't care how batshit it sounds or how short a time I've known him. I'm not going to let him go. I swallow that response down, though. I'm going to carve out his father's heart and hand it to him on a silver platter. If he still wants to leave me after that. If you want to.
Chapter 11. Anders. After breakfast, Luca goes with his uncle, leaving me all alone in his apartment. There's a security system, but he gives me the code for it, and after a thorough search of the place, I can't find any hidden cameras. Even though he got all growly and possessive about wanting to keep me here, there's nothing actually keeping me here. I could type in the security code to disarm the alarm and walk right out the front door back to my place, where my father is, or straight on to the first bus out of the city. Just knowing that I could leave soothes the defiant streak inside of me. I send my dad the money through the app like we talked about, but I don't bother with any kind of message. He might not even notice that I'm not around as long as the money keeps coming. I'll have to go back at some point to get the money and the few sentimental items I packed into my go bag to take with me. Pictures of my mom and a few little trinkets. The only things I have left of her other than her attitude and her nose. A shower seems like a good way to pass some time, so I wander into the bathroom and start the water. Since I'm not sure if Luca will want me rummaging through his dresser for fresh clothes, I strip the t-shirt over my head and start to fold it neatly so I can put it back on after my shower. I stop mid-fold, though, and glare at the t-shirt, but not really at the t-shirt. There was a time in my life when I was difficult and demanding, always with a snarky retort right on the tip of my tongue, full of piss and vinegar. That's how my mom described me, always with a fond smile and a kiss on the forehead. I really have spent years making myself small and quiet and easy to deal with, to protect myself, but mostly to protect Finn. Would Luca really like that side of me without sex involved? I glower again, balling up the shirt and tossing it onto the bathroom floor. So what if he doesn't? I'm sick and goddamn tired of being what everyone else wants and needs me to be. Steam slowly starts to fill the bathroom and fog the mirror. I shove the loose pair of cotton pants down and kick them off just as carelessly as I did with the shirt. Maybe I'll leave them there too. I sniff at the crumpled clothes, then slide back the glass door and step under the hot stream of water. I groan at how good it feels on my skin. The scrapes on my knees from when that fucker went down last night sting mildly. Bracing one hand on the shower wall, I bend my head forward and let the water rush over me, running down my back and dribbling onto my face. Washing away years of bullshit and nightmares is a lot to ask of a simple shower, but it almost feels like it might be working. Like the Anders I've been to protect my brother was nothing more than body paint that I'm finally able to watch swirl down the drain. That stupid little ember of hope Luca ignited in my chest last night is still flickering, and I don't have the heart to snuff it out just yet. It doesn't make any sense, but for some reason, I trust him. I laugh, and the sound echoes eerily off the tiled walls. The only person in my life I can trust is the mafioso I robbed. Seriously, you can't make this shit up. I straighten up and grab the bottle of body wash off the shower shelf, filling my palm with it. The same citrus scent I smelled on Luca's skin last night tickles my nose, making my dick slowly start to swell between my thighs. My mind fills with memories of the taste and feel of his skin, the moans I dragged out of him, and the way he shuddered and writhed as I fucked him into a helpless puddle beneath me. I groan and wrap my soapy hand around my stiffening cock. I guess I won't be needing those little blue pills again anytime soon. Maybe I won't need them ever again. The realization that I might be done with sex work hits me so hard that my knees go weak. I reach out to brace myself against the wall again, and another laugh bursts from my throat. I can hear the relief even in the hollow echo that comes back to me. I don't have the first fucking clue what I'm going to do with the rest of my life, but what I do know is that I won't ever have to let anyone touch me again unless I want them to. I don't have to flirt and feign interest in boring, self-obsessed men at the bar anymore. It all feels too good to be true. Like, maybe Luca can't protect me the way he says he can. Maybe my dad will find another way to get to me and make me miserable. Maybe I should pick up the clothes off of the bathroom floor and try to behave myself a little while longer just in case Luca decides I'm too much trouble to protect after all. I let go of my softening cock and focus on washing up everywhere else while my thoughts spiral and bounce between rebellion and self-preservation. By the time I turn off the water and step out of the shower, I'm not sure where I've landed. I dry myself off and then scoop the clothes up, carrying them back into Luca's bedroom and tossing them into the hamper. Then I go into the living room and dress in the clothes I wore yesterday. I pick up my phone and flop down on the couch. There's a text from Finn waiting for me. Finn, I almost forgot to tell you, I have great news. At least, I think it's great news. It feels pretty great anyway. I chuckle. I'm sure he still feels like shit, but at least he's back to his usual rambling self. Anders, why don't you tell me the news, and I'll let you know if it's good news or not? Finn, I'm pretty sure it is. It's just, there's gonna be some logistics to work out since I already signed a lease on an apartment in Riverside and everything. Anders, bro, just tell me what you're talking about. Finn, I got offered a job in Wildcliff. I know you were jazzed for me to move and stretch my wings or whatever, but this job pays just as well as the one in Riverside, and it would mean I can stay here with you. My heart squeezes violently, and the air vanishes from my lungs. If Finn stays in Wildcliff, he'll never be safe from our dad. I'll never be free of our dad. Fuck, I whimper.
Luca. He's feisty. I can see the appeal, Sal says conversationally as we pull into the underground parking lot at one of the buildings Lorenzo owns downtown. It houses a few legitimate businesses and serves as another great money laundering front, but it also offers the added benefit of top-floor conference rooms for when the boss doesn't feel like holding his meetings at the strip club. I chuckle and climb out of the passenger side. Anders is special, I agree, a lump forming in my throat in the shape of the promise I made to my little viper. I'm going to protect him one way or another. That's a guarantee. My uncle claps me on the shoulder and squeezes it, leading me through the parking garage to the elevators. Lorenzo Moretti might be my own flesh and blood, but that doesn't stop my stomach from roiling with nerves. Sure, I've sat across the table from him at Nona's Christmas dinners, but I'm not stupid enough to think he's the same man when he's wearing the fuzzy pajama pants and a quiet smile as he is when he's sitting up on the top floor of a high-rise, ruling the city and ordering people to be killed if they dare to piss him off. The elevator doors swing open, and Uncle Sal and I step on. He straightens his black and gold tie and shoots me a reassuring smile. I want to ask him what the odds are that Lorenzo will agree to let me deal with Anders' father, but if he tells me my chances are shit, it might just psych me out before we even get there. I'm going to handle things for Anders regardless of what Lorenzo says, But since I prefer my body without bullet holes, it's going to be a hell of a lot easier if I can get his blessing. Don't stress. Enzo's a reasonable guy, Sal assures me. I give a tight nod as the doors slide open again, depositing us on the top floor. I've never actually been here before, but I've certainly heard stories from some of the other Moretti soldiers about their own pants-pissing terror about being called up here to have a sit-down with Lorenzo. Salvatore gives me a little nudge towards the large set of double doors. I drag in a deep breath and then raise my fist to knock. Footsteps squeak against the marble floors, and seconds later the door flies open. The person directly on the other side isn't who I was expecting. For one thing, he clearly missed the memo about the official Moretti dress code. Instead of an expensive suit, he's wearing an old worn leather jacket with a tightly fitting graphic tee underneath, and a pair of jeans that look like they're just as broken in as the jacket is. His messy blonde hair and petite stature remind me of Anders, and so does the gleam in his eyes as he sizes me up. That wasn't the super-secret official knock. 5 seconds to give me today's password, or I'll have to kill you. He pulls his jacket back just enough for me to see the handle of a large blade holstered underneath. I chuckle. Hey, Sparrow. Zav still hasn't managed to get you on a leash yet, Sal deadpans. The threatening scowl on Sparrow's face melts into a smirk. Oh, was that leash he brought home supposed to be for me? Instructions unclear. My uncle laughs again and then unceremoniously shoves Sparrow out of the way to step into the conference room. I hesitate just outside for another second. Last year, when Uncle Sal had me guarding Dante, I spent some time with Sparrow too, and if I'm being honest, the unhinged twink kind of scares me. Don't show him any fear, it only makes him worse, Alessia, one of the other capos, says from inside the room with a laugh. I'm not scared of him, I lie, taking Alessio's advice by stepping past him the same way Sal did. If you didn't know any better, it would be easy to mistake the scene inside the conference room for any boring corporate meeting. Lorenzo is sitting at the head of the long table wearing a black Armani suit with a bland, unreadable expression on his face. On his right is his younger brother and underboss, Elio, also wearing a suit and looking somewhat disinterested. But he does offer me a friendly smile when our eyes meet. On Lorenzo's left is a large, intimidating-looking man I know more by reputation than anything. Xaviero. Also known as the Iceman, Lorenzo's Trigger, or simply the Grim Reaper. Sparrow slips into the chair on Xaviero's other side and puts his feet up on the table like a rebellious teenager trying to get a rise out of their uptight parents. Lorenzo's cheek twitches, but he doesn't say anything. With Alessio right across the table from Sparrow, that leaves a few open seats left. Salvatore claims the one next to Alessio, and I linger next to the table, unsure where I should sit or if I'm even allowed to. Luca, Lorenzo says with a nod of greeting. How's your mother? I haven't seen Gina since Christmas. She's fine, I answer, relaxing a little at the reminder that Lorenzo is family. Just kicked husband number 3 to the curb, so she's in one of her I-don't-need-a-man phases again. He chuckles. Good. I didn't like that one. He was a cocky shit. Agreed. We share a smile for a few seconds before he waves at the open chairs. I pull out the one farthest down the table and take a seat. Salvatore tells me you need to discuss some personal business, he prompts. It's Moretti business, I correct him, my voice dipping into a low growl, remembering the haunted look in Anders' eyes this morning when he told me about his dad. I met someone and it's a bit complicated. I know you're a busy man, so I'm going to get right to the point. His father has been pimping him out for years. He went along with it to protect his brother, but it ends now. I sit forward in my seat and stare straight at Lorenzo with fire in my gut. I know you won't stand for that shit in Wildcliff, so I'm here asking for your blessing. But I want to be clear. I'm going to end this motherfucker with or without it. Lorenzo's expression darkens while Elio gasps and Xaviero makes a low, unsettling sound in his throat. A ripple of anger goes through everyone at the table, settling some of the rage inside of me. Knowing they're as pissed off about this situation as I am helps. You're right. I won't stand for shit like that in my city, he says after several seconds. Does that mean I have your blessing? I'm on the edge of my seat now, seconds away from jumping up and flying out of the room to do what needs to be done. He holds my gaze for several beats, then looks over at Sparrow without a word. The playfully mischievous glint that was in Sparrow's eyes before is gone, replaced with something even deadlier than the shadows dancing in Lorenzo's and Xaviero's. His feet aren't on the table anymore. Now he's all business. I'm sure he's the kind of stupid motherfucker with a list of transgressions longer than my dick. If you give me a couple of days to poke around, I might be able to find something to put him behind bars the legal way, Sparrow says. But you know I'm all for bloodshed, and it doesn't sound like this dickhead deserves an ounce of mercy. Lorenzo grunts again, then returns his attention to me. Can you give it a couple of days? I'm assuming he's safe with you for now. What about his brother? He's safe at my place, I confirm. And as long as he keeps sending his dad the money he expects, I don't think his brother has anything to worry about. Good. Let's see what Sparrow can dig up first, then. And if he can't find anything, I ask through clenched teeth. Then we'll talk, Lorenzo says firmly. I want to push it, but from the hard set of his expression, I can tell that's the only answer I'm going to get for now. I huff, then push back from the table, getting to my feet again. Thanks, I say gruffly, before pivoting on my heel. Luca, Lorenzo calls out just before I reach the door. We're going to take care of it. I let out a slow breath, rolling my shoulders to loosen them. Thank you. Chapter 12. Luca. After my meeting with Lorenzo, I spend a few hours making my usual rounds and taking care of the things Uncle Sal has trusted me with. But my head is everywhere else. It's back at the apartment with Anders. It's dreaming up 24 different ways to make his father pay for everything he's done. It's stuck on fantasies of spoiling my sweet, venomous little viper until he can't even remember what it feels like to be mistreated. It's late afternoon by the time I finish up, and I decide to stop at my favorite deli on my way home. Standing in line, it occurs to me that I have no clue what his favorite sandwich is, so I order my usual, a Reuben, and a few different options for Anders to choose from. I whistle to myself on my way up the stairs to the apartment, juggling the 2 full paper bags into one arm so I can slide the key into the lock. It's eerily quiet when I step inside, and the hairs on the back of my neck prickle. Did Anders leave after all? Did he go running back to his dad? Did something happen to his brother? Anders, I call out, nudging the door closed behind me. I register the sound of padding footsteps only a second before the crash. I stumble back with an oomph, dropping the sandwich bags as my back hits the door and Anders leaps into my arms. Just like the first time we kissed, there's something in the bruising way he attacks my mouth that feels like he's unleashing a storm. I moan, and he takes the opportunity to shove his tongue into my mouth, licking, sucking, tangling it with mine. His legs wrap around my waist, bringing the hard shape of his cock up against my stomach, while his hands match the wild, untamed energy of his lips. It's a blur of rough groping, with his fingers knotted in my hair one second and impatiently tugging at my tie the next. He wrestles with the buttons of my shirt and writhes against me, grinding his cock into my abs and nipping sharply at my lips. I melt into all of it, sagging against the door but holding on to him tightly, meeting the lashes of his tongue with eager, soothing licks and muffled groans. It feels like he's desperate to unleash his demons through the violence of the kiss, and by some lucky twist of fate, that's exactly my kink. I want him to bleed all of his rage and hurt into marks all over my body until we're both spent and satisfied. My cock swells so fast it makes my head spin. Or maybe that's thanks to lack of oxygen, because I don't even think to breathe while Anders unleashes his delicious assault. When he finally breaks the kiss, he stays close, our foreheads pressed together and our mouths only an inch apart. I gulp down a few breaths, sharing air with him while he does the same. Does that mean you missed me while I was working today, sweetness? I tease, squeezing the 2 handfuls of his ass I have in my grasp and licking my lips to chase the lingering taste of him and revel in the dull ache left behind by the kiss. He grunts in response, his jaw taut and his eyes glassy and red-rimmed like he's been crying. Or trying not to. My gut lurches. What's wrong? Anders lets out a humorless laugh. Everything is fucked up, and I'm not sure I have the strength to deal with it the way I need to. I'm tired of feeling powerless and small. I'm so fucking angry at my shitty dad and all the bullshit that's completely out of my control that I just want to scream and rage. I want to sink my hands and my teeth into something and tear it apart because I can't think of any other way to get all of these feelings out of me. My heart races and I brush my lips against his again. Will it make you feel better to tear me apart, little viper? I murmur, squeezing his ass in my hands again and bumping my nose against his. I can't erase everything that's happened, but I can promise you'll never feel powerless or small again, not as long as there's air in my lungs and somewhere I can kneel for you. His breath catches and the glassy look in his eyes sharpens into the beautiful predatory gleam that grabbed me by the balls the moment I laid eyes on him and hasn't let go. You want to hurt for me? He flicks the tip of his tongue along the seam of my lips. I whimper and nod, my cock giving a throbbing twitch of agreement. Please. I kiss his chin, then work my way down his throat with hot open-mouthed kisses while I tow my shoes off. Turning your trauma into bites and bruises all over my skin might not be as good as therapy, but I guarantee it'll be more fun. He tilts his head back to give me more of his throat, and a hoarse laugh vibrates under my lips. Anders tangles his fingers in my hair again, but instead of tugging until my scalp stings, he uses his grip to pull me closer. I think you might be some kind of fucked up guardian angel sent here to save me from this bullshit life I never deserved to begin with. I can be that. I work my mouth back up towards his, sucking and licking every inch of his skin along the way as I carry him down the hallway towards the bedroom. I can slay your demons, and I can be a canvas for all of your pain if you need one. I'll be whatever you want. He makes another sound that's caught somewhere between a laugh and a moan, and then his lips are back on mine. This kiss is just as hard and demanding, his tongue forcing my lips to part as he uses his grip on my hair to angle my head exactly how he wants it. His cock twitches against my belly again, and I lower him to the bed without breaking the kiss. I can feel the smile that stretches over his face as he unwraps his legs from around my waist. He leans back out of the kiss, his lips glistening and swollen, no doubt tingling like mine are. Anders settles back onto his elbows, looking me up and down with an assessing gaze. I'm sure I look like a mugging victim right about now, with my shirt hanging half open, my tie wrinkled and tugged loose, and my hair disheveled from his grip. He hums appreciatively, then pulls one leg back and plants his foot right in the middle of my chest. You said you'd kneel. He drags his tongue over his bottom lip and pushes me back with his foot. So be a good little deadly criminal and kneel for me. I chuckle and sink to my knees right next to the bed. A strand of hair falls over my forehead, and I level him with a heated look while I wait for his next command. He spreads his legs a little wider and drags his hand leisurely over the straining bulge in his tight shorts. He's back in his clothes from last night, and I notice again how see-through his white t-shirt is. The darker shade of his nipples is like a neon beacon through the fabric, the pebbled shape of them making my mouth water with the need to lick them until he's delirious. We've fucked twice now, and I still haven't really had the chance to put my hands on him. It makes my dick even harder knowing it's not up to me if or when I get to explore his body with my tongue. Anders uses his thumb to flick open the button on his shorts and then slowly tugs the zipper down one notch at a time, holding my gaze and smirking as I watch it move one painstaking millimeter after another. Little by little, his bare cock makes an appearance. It's petite and pretty just like he is, with just the right amount of girth and a slight curve at the tip that hits my prostate exactly right. Heat flares through me and I clench my cheeks together, suddenly very aware of how needy and empty I feel. I swallow, my throat dry, and inadvertently make a horny sound. His eyes flash with that beautiful, powerful look again and my cock jerks. He cocks his head, studying me for a few seconds while he drags his fingertips lightly up and down the length of his shaft, teasing himself or teasing me. Maybe both. Did you ever play the red light, green light game when you were a kid? Of all the things I thought he might say next, that question was nowhere on the list. I bark out a laugh. The one where green light means go crazy and red light means freeze and don't move a muscle. Anders nods, swirling his index finger lazily around the head of his cock until it starts to get visibly damp with the slowly beating pre-cum dribbling from his slit. "Let's play," he says. "Green light means you can touch me anywhere you want. Lick me, suck me, bite me." He sits up and strips his shirt over his head, tossing it aside. "And red light means you don't move a muscle until I say so." I'm mesmerized by the bouncing sway of his cock as he lifts his hips and shimmies his shorts the rest of the way off. "Got it?" "Yes," I answer hoarsely, already making a mental list of all the places I want to taste him while I shrug out of my jacket, unstrap my gun holster, and shed my tie. He shifts up the bed and makes himself comfortable with his arms tucked under his head and his naked body fully spread out, on display against the backdrop of my dark, expensive sheets. "Green light." The words are barely out of his mouth before I'm launching myself off the floor and scrambling up the bed. If he expects me to go right for his cock lying flushed and hard against his slender belly, then he's going to learn something about me tonight. I blanket him with my body and bury my nose in the crook of his neck, inhaling deeply. A primal, possessive growl rises in my throat at the citrus scent of my favorite soap on Anders' skin. It's even better than seeing him in my clothes this morning, but not quite as satisfying as having him right here in my bed. Every thunderous heartbeat in my ears sounds like mine, 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 as I suck a greedy mark into the tender flesh of his throat. He gasps and his hips jerk, his cock dragging against mine, the heat of his skin dulled by my clothes still between us. I nip at his fluttering pulse point, far more gently than any of the bites he's given me. He holds himself relatively still beneath me as I slowly map him with my lips and tongue, covering every inch of his throat and collarbone. I can feel the eager twitch of his cock every time I find a spot he likes, and I add every one of those places to a mental list to return to later. Anders makes low, gasping sounds as I work my way a little lower, painting his chest with long, leisurely strokes of my tongue, avoiding his straining nipples even though I'm desperate to gently tug them between my teeth just to hear him hiss and moan. I cant my hips, grinding against him as I lick my way over to his exposed armpit and press my nose into the darker thatch of hair. The smell of my soap lingers there too, but much fainter, overpowered by a musky scent that's all Anders. I groan and bury my nose even deeper. He giggles and squirms under me. Ticklish, I guess, dragging my nose up along the inside slope of his arm, then following the same path with my tongue. "A little," he says breathlessly, squirming again. The lightness in his voice is such a contrast to the haunted look in his eyes from just a few minutes ago that it makes my chest swell and my heart beat faster. My kisses get deeper and hungrier as I work my way back across his chest, teasing his nipples this time with a light brush of my lips, and give the same attention to his other armpit. Every inch of him I touch feels like I'm staking my claim, and I don't want to miss a single spot. Too soon, Anders puts his hand on my chest and claims just a little bit of space between our bodies. "Red light," he says, and I freeze. He grins up at me for a second, and I'm dying to know what he's thinking. But I also can't resist the chance to spend a minute admiring my work so far. The stubble on my face has left spots of his skin slightly red, and he's glistening with my rapidly drying saliva. Anders untucks one arm from behind his head and reaches between us to undo my belt with a few expert flicks and tugs. My cock throbs in eager anticipation, and my muscles tremble with the enforced stillness, my hands braced on either side of his head, my body hovering over his. He teases his tongue along the seam of my lips while he opens my pants and slips his hand inside. His teeth sink into my bottom lip sharply at the exact same moment that he wraps his slender fingers around my shaft. I moan deeply, my balls clenching and my cock jerking in his grasp. It takes everything in me not to thrust into his fist, not to slam my mouth harder into his, not to drop my weight back on top of him and rut against him with desperate, horny abandon. "I've never had the chance to play with anyone's foreskin before," he says conversationally, one arm still tucked behind his head as he gives my cock a slow, purposeful stroke, then drags his thumb just along the rim of where my foreskin surrounds the exposed head of my cock. I've heard it's sensitive. Before I can even grunt a confirmation, he tugs my foreskin up and pinches it between his thumb and forefinger. My cock spasms and a gush of pre-cum fills the hot little pocket he created. I moan again and my thighs quake. "You are a pain slut, aren't you?" he muses, sucking my bottom lip roughly between his teeth and pinching my foreskin just a little bit harder. I whine against his lips, my balls tightening and my gut writhing with electricity. He's walking that perfect razor's edge between too much and not enough, that exact right kind of pain that wakes up every nerve ending and intensifies every sense. The throbbing rush when he lets up feels almost as good as the initial jolt of pain did, and I groan again. The sound is muffled by his tongue tangling with mine. He strokes me again, torturously slow, squeezing and corkscrewing his hand when he reaches my crown, then reversing course and doing it all over again. After a few tugs, he lines his cockhead up against mine, and on the next stroke he pulls my foreskin around us both. The stretch of it around his crown makes my eyes roll, and the strangely chaste way the head of his cock kisses mine drags another whimper from me. A mixture of our shared pre-cum drenches both of our tips and spills out of the silky sleeve of my foreskin. Every twisting stroke Anders gives sounds filthy and wet, especially against the backdrop of the muffled grunts and moans that echo around our tongues. He releases his grip, and for just a second his cock stays right where it was, encased in my hot, slick foreskin before it falls back against his stomach. He breaks away from my mouth and kisses across my jaw until he reaches my ear. My muscles twitch again, and I break the rule just a little by fisting my handful of the sheets tighter to hold myself still. Anders sinks his teeth sharply into my earlobe. "Green light," he whispers. A relieved groan rumbles in my chest, and this time I don't take the leisurely route. My blood is rushing in my veins, and a deeply primal need has a hold of me. I shuffle down his body and fall hungrily on his cock. The combined taste of our salty, sweet pre-cum slicking his tip makes me moan as I wrap my lips around him and swallow him down. Anders wails and thrusts into my mouth, grabbing a handful of my hair and tugging on it. The sting in my scalp sends another shower of electricity down my spine, making everything else feel more intense. Everywhere our bodies touch feels like a raging inferno. The taste of his cock, of his pre-cum, is fucking heaven, and the weight of him on my tongue is the only thing I need to die happily. He's the perfect size to suck greedily, barely hitting the back of my throat no matter how deep I take him, just the right girth to seal my lips around. I flutter and pulse my tongue against the underside of his cock while I suck him wildly, bobbing my head up and down and moaning every time he bumps the back of my throat. Anders thrashes and wails, panting my name and bucking his hips. His balls tighten under my chin and he tugs harder on my hair. "Red light," he gasps, and I go completely still again. Anders lets out a shuddering breath and sags into the bed, his cock twitching and throbbing, trapped between my tongue and the roof of my mouth. Mine answers with a matching ache, swinging heavily between my thighs as I swallow a salty rush of more pre-cum. "Fuck, you're good at that," he murmurs, loosening his grip and dragging his fingers through my hair more gently. He massages my scalp with his fingertips, his breathing slowing until it's almost normal. He starts to rock his hips again, slowly, shallowly, bumping the head of his cock gently against the back of my throat over and over. "It's been so long since anyone gave a fuck about making me feel good," he confesses, his voice strained as he starts to thrust just a little bit faster. "I forgot what it felt like to even like sex." I growl around his cock, fighting the urge to break the rules of the game so I can kiss him senseless and then go on a murder spree, putting a bullet between the eyes of everyone who made him feel worthless and unseen. "Fuck!" He arches off the bed and then thrusts between my lips again. "I'm so close. Green light, green light, green..." I break from my statue state and pull off his cock with an obscenely wet slurp. I scramble back up his body and we collide in another feral kiss. I'm vaguely aware that I'm still half-dressed, my cock swinging free from my open pants, my shirt wrinkled and probably missing a couple of buttons at this point. But all I really give a fuck about is all the places our skin meets, both of us damp with sweat. humping and grinding and pawing at each other like animals in heat. Anders slips his hands under my shirt and drags his blunt nails down the length of my back, setting my skin on fire in the best way. The hot, wet weight of his cock against mine makes my toes curl and my balls tighten with every thrust. The bed creaks under us, and the room fills with the sound of our babbled words and guttural moans. I need you. You're mine. Mark me up. Make me hurt for you, I murmur between tongue-heavy kisses. Luca, Luca, Luca. Anders chants my name with increasing urgency, meeting my thrusts with his own, wrapping his legs around my waist and grinding himself against me. He twists my nipple roughly between his fingers and bites down so hard on my bottom lip that my mouth fills with the metallic tang of blood. That rush of pain is all it takes to send me over the edge. I shout into his mouth, my thrusts stuttering as my balls constrict and my cock starts to pulse against his. Anders swallows the sound and then reaches between us, breaking the kiss to throw his head back and moan from deep in his chest as he wraps his hand around both our cocks and strokes us wildly. Hot bursts of his cum join mine, soaking us both with rope after rope of our releases. My thighs tremble and all of my muscles clench with the waves of pleasure that go on and on. Every bite and scratch aches on my skin like a brand. My scalp tingles and so do my lips. Anders works us both furiously until my cock starts to soften and become oversensitive. He finally shivers and releases one last thick spurt of cum before letting his hand fall away. He sags into the bed and a satisfied smile curls the corners of his lips. I let my weight sink into him for just a second, reveling in the sticky, wet feeling of our cum all over our skin as I brush soft kisses over his lips.
Anders. Of all the things that nearly made me cry today, Luca's tenderness following our orgasms is the one that rocks me the hardest. I swallow around the tight feeling in my throat as he rolls off of me. Thanks. I let out a hoarse laugh, and Luca arches an eyebrow at me. Believe me, there's no thanks required. He nuzzles my cheek and then pulls me close again. I rest my head on his shoulder and breathe slowly, focusing on the warmth of his skin and the smell of our sweat and cum hanging in the air, instead of the burning tears threatening to spill out, or the realization that I forgot what it even felt like to be held after sex. How did a cinnamon roll pain slut like you become a mafioso anyway? I ask, absently swirling my finger through the dark hair on his chest. He chuckles. Family business. My head jostles with his shrug. Duh, I mutter. Moretti, that makes sense. Luca caresses up and down the curve of my spine and goosebumps pebble my skin. Do you like it? Or is that a weird question to ask? He laughs again. I like it just fine. I'm definitely not gunning for Lorenzo's job or anything, but I'd be happy enough to work my way up a few rungs into a cushy position. There's something amusing about the way he talks about his job, just like anybody with a 9-to-5 corporate career. Like he's not working for a criminal organization with blood on his hands and a pile of dirty money behind it. Then again, I suppose that's not all that different from most corporations when you get right down to it. Besides, who am I to judge? Some people need to have their blood spilled. My jaw ticks, and my calm, sleepy mood evaporates. I sit up, and Luca huffs in protest. I'm hungry, I say, nudging him in the ribs. He sits up too and swings his legs over the side of the bed. He undoes the last few buttons on his shirt and shrugs it off, then stands up and strips out of his pants and underwear. Well, if you hadn't attacked me the second I got in the door, you would know that I brought home sandwiches. My lips twitch. Are you complaining about the greeting? He leans back over the bed and brushes another kiss to my lips. Not at all. We get cleaned up, and I put a fresh set of his clothes on because I'm tired of lounging around his place in my tight shorts and see-through shirt. Luca directs me to the couch and tells me to pick something for us to watch while he goes to the front hall to retrieve the bags he dropped on his way in. I pull up Killer Clowns from Outer Space and put my feet up on the coffee table. Nice, he mutters when he sees what I picked. I wasn't sure what you liked, so I got a variety. He sets down 2 bags brimming with sandwiches, then plops down next to me. I stare at all the sandwiches for a second, each one labeled so I can easily choose what I want. A lump rises in my throat again, and the burn returns, right behind my eyes. Luca bumps his shoulder against mine. "They're just sandwiches," he says softly. I swallow and nod. "Thank you." I rummage through the options for a minute and settle on the lone Reuben in the pile. A smile I can't quite decipher flickers on his lips, and he grabs one of the leftover sandwiches without even reading the label. I didn't really expect it to help, but I think Luca really did manage to tame my demons, at least for a little while. The weight that's been on my chest since I read Finn's text is lightened, and I couldn't give less of a fuck about whether my dad is freaking out about me coming home or not. With the ridiculous, campy horror movie playing and the 2 of us happily devouring our food, I feel surprisingly peaceful. "Do I want to know how your meeting this morning went?" I ask once we're finished eating. "It went well." The answer is just vague enough to make my skin prickle. "Are you going to kill him?" I can barely make myself whisper the question, my heart leaping against my ribcage, and I'm not sure whether it's more out of hope or fear at the idea. Luca's jaw ticks. "We're going to try to get him sent to prison." The air rushes out of my lungs, and I nod. I think I'm relieved, but I'm still not exactly sure. As horrible as he is, I don't want him dead, do I? My thoughts return to Finn, and the possibility that he's going to stay in Wildcliff. Maybe dead isn't the worst option if it's the only way to make sure my brother is safe. "I lied to you," I blurt. "I didn't pawn your watch or spend the money. Not yet. I've been robbing clients for the past year. Not all of them, obviously, but the ones who looked like they could afford it. I was building up a stash of money so that when Finn graduated, I'd be able to buy a new identity from the Morettis and leave town too." Luca studies me quietly while the insane laughter of alien space clowns echoes from the TV in the background. "When does he graduate?" "In just over 2 weeks." His eyes get steely, and he nods. "I don't give a fuck about the money or the watch." He brushes the back of his hand over my cheek, and I lean into his touch. "Is the stash at your place still?" I shake my head. "It's in my bag." "Good. We'll pawn the items you have, and then open a bank account for you with the money. We need to go get you some new clothes, too." I frown. "It's that easy? You're just going to let me keep the money I stole from you?" He shrugs. "It's just money." "Easy for you to say," I mutter, gritting my teeth. Luca doesn't respond, and for a few seconds I just see that how simple he makes it sound. Like money is meaningless when I've spent years doing what I've had to for it. I look over at him, and he's watching me instead of the movie, and some of the venom seeps out of me. "I'm sorry. You're being sweet to me, and I'm getting pissy." He smirks and cups my jaw. "Get pissy then," he says with that same simplicity. "I told you I don't mind. And you have every right to fucking rage right now." I scoff. "You're too good to be true. What's the catch here?" Luca snorts and then leans in to whisper in my ear, "I'm a no-good, lousy criminal with a body count and a bit of a pain kink." I sputter a laugh. "Oh, right. That." I turn my head and kiss his cheek. I might be able to live with all that. My throat tightens again when I realize how it sounds, like I'm planning to stay once everything with my dad is settled, like whatever Luca and I are doing here is real. Is it fucked up that I kind of want it to be? Chapter 13. Anders. A knock on the door mid-morning makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. Luca's at work, and I can't think of any reason he would knock if he was coming home early. I've been curled up on the couch, drinking coffee, and using Luca's laptop to browse through the university course catalog, indulging in the fantasy of enrolling in some classes at some point. I set my coffee mug and the laptop on the coffee table and get up off the couch slowly, listening hard for any sign of who might be at the door. Honestly, I don't know what the fuck I'm expecting to hear. It's not like whoever it is will be standing outside the door monologuing to themselves about who they are and why they're here. The twisting sensation in my gut is insistent that somehow my dad figured out I'm here and has come to drag me home. I sent him money again this morning, though, so I doubt he gives a fuck where I am, at least for now. The wood floor creaks under my foot in the entryway. I cringe and freeze. Another sharp knock echoes through the otherwise quiet apartment. I hold my breath and lean in to peek through the peephole, praying that I'm not about to die some horrifying Mafia movie death where the villain on the other side of the door riddles me with bullets from a machine gun. I don't see a gun, luckily. The dude standing in the hallway looks like a Twinkie punk rocker with messy blonde hair, a leather jacket, and ripped jeans. His hands are shoved into his pockets now, and aside from his general don't fuck with me energy, he doesn't look particularly menacing. As if he can hear me on the other side of the door, he looks directly at the peephole. Even though I know he can't see me, I shrink back. Should I have asked Luca for some kind of safe word to let you know it's okay to open the door? Or does he actually have you tied up in there? Shout if you're handcuffed to a radiator. His tone is full of a kind of sarcastic amusement that reminds me of myself, or maybe who I used to be, who I want to be. Fuck it. I punch in the code to disarm the alarm, but slide the chain into place just in case. Then I pull the door open an inch. The man flashes me a toothy smile. Hey, it's Anders, right? I know this is weird, but I'm not here to murder you or kidnap you or anything. He pulls his hands out of his pockets and holds them up, showing me he's unarmed. I drag my gaze over the rest of him, from his zipped jacket down to the combat boots on his feet, wondering where he might be hiding weapons, if he had any. He chuckles and runs one hand through his hair. I'm Sparrow, he introduces himself, even though I still haven't said a word. I'm in a relationship with Xaviero. He works for Lorenzo, I finish for him, swallowing hard. Is telling me you're dating the most notorious hitman in the city supposed to make me trust you more? Sparrow's lips twitch. That's fair. I probably shouldn't have led with that. Let's try this. He reaches into the front pocket of his jeans and I tense, even though they're tight enough that I would see a weapon if he had one stashed there. He pulls out a credit card and waves it in front of me. I was in the meeting yesterday between Luca and Lorenzo, and then I was up all night thinking about it. I bristle, and he grimaces but goes on. So I tracked down your man this morning and bullied him into giving me his credit card so I could take you shopping. I figured you had to ditch most of your stuff, am I right? He looks me up and down through the narrow gap in the doorway. I shift to hide myself a little more, but I know he's already seen that I'm wearing more of Luca's clothes, all of them too baggy on me to be confused for my own. Why? I ask, frowning, and closing the door another fraction of an inch. What is with all these Morettis and their unnatural interest in me? His jaw hardens, but the look in his eyes gets softer. Because selling your soul for your brother is something I can relate to. He shoves the card back into his pocket and shrugs. And because I could use a friend other than Xaviero. Yeah, okay. Why the hell not? I chuckle and ease my grip on the door. Do you mind if we make a stop at the pawn shop and the bank while we're out too? I undo the chain and throw the door all the way open so we can come in while I put on my shoes and grab my bag. Sure, I've got all day. I'll even throw in lunch. Deal. A few minutes later, we're headed down the block away from Luca's apartment. I take a deep breath, feeling the warmth of the air in my nostrils, along with the smell of car exhaust and the fried food scent coming from some nearby restaurants. This isn't the most high-end area of the city. It's probably only a step or two up from where I've been living, but it's weird how even the air smells different in the parts of Wildcliff where people have more money. I laugh, and Sparrow looks over at me with a curious expression, waiting for me to share the joke. I shake my head. Just thinking about how fucking weird this all is. A week ago, I was at Wonderland just fucking praying that I'd be able to stomach whoever flashed me a wad of cash for the night, and now I'm out for a gal pal shopping trip with some rocker twink mafioso. He snorts. I am literally none of those things. Well, okay, I guess you're technically right about the twink part, but rocker mafioso, not so much. You don't work for the Morettis? Sparrow flashes me a cocky smile. They fucking wish. I'm more of an independent contractor. It's a win-win, since that way they get to utilize my skills, but I don't have to play by any of their rules. He winks, then grabs my arm and pulls me through the door of a clothing store. It's a menswear boutique with options ranging from suits to casual t-shirts and jeans. Not a single item of slutty clubwear in sight, and for that, I am fucking grateful. He gives me a little space to browse, but doesn't stray too far. He tosses me an item here or there while carrying on a stream of casual chatter, from complaints about how the new barista at his favorite coffee shop keeps fucking up his morning coffee order to what he's been binge-watching lately. I join in with similar, and it all just feels so normal. I'm not sure what my budget is, so I don't go too crazy, but by the time I'm done, I've got a handful of jeans and t-shirts in various colors, along with enough underwear and socks that I can feel like a normal person with all my own stuff. I shove the receipt into my pocket after I pay and promise myself I'll pay Luca back eventually. So, is it terrifying sleeping next to the Iceman? I ask once we're back outside, headed for the nearest pawn shop a few blocks over. Sparrow barks out a laugh. Zav? Scary? He snickers a little more. No. Don't tell him I told you, but he's the squishiest murder muffin who's ever lived. My eyes widen, and I choke back my own amusement. Yeah, if I ever meet the fucking Grim Reaper, I can assure you that I will not call him a murder muffin. He loops his arm through mine while we walk and lowers his voice just a little. His birthday is coming up next week, and I got him a collar with a tag that says "Good Boy" on it. I gasp and gape at him, nearly running into a lamppost in the process. Sparrow tugs me out of the way just in time and cackles at my shock. Luca would probably love a collar, I confess, and Sparrow smirks like I just confirmed his suspicion. I wonder if any of the other Morettis are good boys. I grin wider right along with him. You think it's possible that everyone is pissing themselves over the subbiest bunch of cinnamon rolls alive? By day, they rule Wildcliff with terror and bullets, and by night, they all go home, put on feety pajamas, and kneel for pretty twinks? He flattens his lips together like he's trying not to say too much, then taps his nose and waggles his eyebrows at me. There's something hot about it, he says. Seeing Zav take someone out without flinching, knowing he's going to be whimpering with my tongue in his mouth and my hand around his throat later. Sparrow sighs happily and then reaches down to adjust himself shamelessly. My skin heats as Luca fills my mind. I've noticed the same thing he's talking about, watching Luca go from commanding and dangerous to gentle and submissive in the blink of an eye. Yeah, it's pretty fucking hot. We reach the pawn shop, and I head up to the counter while Sparrow wanders farther into the shop. My palms sweat as I reach into my messenger bag to pull out the baggie of jewelry and watches. I'm sure I'm not the first person to come in here and pawn stolen items. Hell, I'm probably not even the first person this morning. The man behind the counter is helping someone else, so I let my eyes wander while I wait. It's fairly quiet, with just a few other customers walking around. There's an older woman looking through a stack of records, and a couple of teenagers who must have skipped school messing around with an acoustic guitar. A tall, skinny man leans over the glass case filled with jewelry. I'm not sure what makes my attention linger on him at first. He looks like a biker and a junkie, if I had to guess. His skin is gaunt, and his long hair falls in dirty, stringy strands over the shoulders of his leather jacket. There's a patch on the sleeve that looks familiar, but I can't quite place it off the top of my head. But whatever drew my attention to begin with is quickly replaced by an uneasy feeling when his eyes snap towards Sparrow. I shift on my feet and drop my head a little, but keep my attention on him, watching him watch Sparrow without him noticing. The man's eyes narrow, and he curls his fingers into a fist, slipping his other hand into his jacket pocket. My heart beats faster, and the sweat on my palms is no longer because I'm nervous about selling stolen watches. Either Sparrow has no clue he's being watched, or he's extremely good at playing it cool. He wanders up and down the aisles, picking up random items and generally just keeping himself busy while he waits for me. "Can I help you?" I startle and hurry forward. "I want a paw on these." I set the bag on the counter, keeping one eye on the other man while the employee dumps out my stuff and starts to sort through it. The dude abandons the jewelry case and ambles in Sparrow's direction in a way that might look casual if it weren't for all the staring. I bounce impatiently on my toes, but otherwise do my best to play it cool. Maybe I'm just being paranoid. I thought Sparrow was coming to the apartment to kill me, too, so clearly I have some trust issues. It's possible the junkie is just mistaking Sparrow for someone he knows, or having a weird trip and doesn't even realize he's staring. "I can give you $5K for the lot." The employee sounds bored. I suck in a sharp breath and then cough when saliva goes down the wrong way. "I'm sorry, how much?" He scowls. "I can't do any better than that. We've got to turn a profit to stay in business. That's how it works." I hold my hands up and shake my head. "No, yeah, that's fine." My head spins from the amount of money he just offered me. So much so that I completely forget about the creepy junkie while I fill out the paperwork and watch him count out the cash to hand over to me. I stuff the bills into my bag, along with the small wad I already had there. Sparrow meets me at the door, and we head out again. We're halfway down the block when the hairs on the back of my neck prickle. I glance over my shoulder, and, sure enough, we seem to have picked up a new friend. "Be cool, but I think someone's following us," I say as quietly as possible, even though I doubt the dude would be able to hear me over the sound of traffic anyway from where he is. Sparrow tenses, reaching one hand into his jacket while subtly glancing over his shoulder. "Motherfucker," he mutters. "Friend of yours?" "Not exactly. He's got a sleepless reaper's patch, though. Let's just say I've developed a bit of a reputation with the motorcycle club." My muscles tense, and I almost stumble over my next step. My heartbeat skyrockets, and the adrenaline that spikes through my veins steals my spine and hardens everything inside of me. The Sleepless Reapers are notorious for not only running meth, but for getting people hooked and turning them into club property. What happens once someone is club property? I'd rather not think too hard about it. "What kind of reputation?" I ask, matching Sparrow's quickening pace. "The shoving my favorite dagger into their fucking jugulars and watching them bleed out kind of reputation." His lips curl into a different kind of smile than I've seen so far. It's cold and disturbing. It's exactly the kind of smile I'd expect the Iceman's lover to wear. "Listen, I'm gonna have to handle this. There's a burger place right up ahead. You can dip inside, and I'll circle back and meet you after I take care of this asshole." Something tells me he doesn't just mean he's going to lose this dude. I've gotten my knuckles bloody plenty of times. Going feral, as Finn calls it, but I've never killed a man. I've never seen a man killed. I should take Sparrow's advice and let him do his thing. He must know what he's doing to talk about stabbing bikers in the jugular so casually. It feels wrong to leave him alone, though. "No, I'm with you," I say before I can talk myself out of it. "What's the plan?" "Yeah?" He reaches for my hand, linking our fingers together like we're on a date. "All right, follow my lead." In only a few more feet, we reach an alley between two buildings. Sparrow's fingers tighten around mine, and he yanks me off the sidewalk into the alley. I get ready to run, but he slows his pace instead, checking over his shoulder again and then leading me deeper, farther away from the bustle of the street. It doesn't take long before the crunch of gravel under boots echoes behind us, letting me know without looking that the junkie biker is still on our tail. Sparrow leans closer to me, acting like he doesn't notice the man. "Sorry about this," he whispers. My heart jams into my throat, and I open my mouth to ask what he means, but before I can, he pushes me up against the nearest wall and flattens himself against me. I try to push him back, but he just laughs and then brings his face close to mine like he's going to kiss me. "What the fuck? Shh," he murmurs, then lets out another laugh, this one clearly phony as hell. It's the kind of fake giggle I recognize well, the kind I've used a million times to pretend I'm having a good time with a man. Sparrow's eyes are wide and alert, in contrast to his flirty body language as he nuzzles his nose against mine. His jacket falls open, and I notice the leather sheath strapped around his chest and the hilt of the knife tucked inside. I fucking knew he had to be armed. Points to me for good instincts, at least. In a blink, the man is behind him, his lips pulled back in vile, yellowed smile as he hooks an arm around Sparrow's throat and yanks him off of me. "Got you, you little fucker!" "Did you?" Sparrow chokes before slamming his elbow back to nail him right in the nose. The man curses, blood exploding from his nose in a rush, but he doesn't stumble back or let Sparrow go. If anything, he tightens his hold, hauling Sparrow back farther. "That all you got?" He spits a mouthful of blood into the gravel by his boots. "Fucking meth heads," Sparrow growls, starting to thrash harder. His jacket flaps open again, and when it's clear that the dude is too tweaked to even feel the elbows and kicks Sparrow is throwing at him, I act on instinct. I jolt forward, wrap my fingers around the handle of the dagger, and yank it out of its sheath. Tweaker is so focused on Sparrow that he doesn't even seem to notice I'm here. Sparrow gasps and sinks his teeth into the asshole's arm, but even that doesn't dislodge him. He spins around and slams Sparrow into the opposite wall. There isn't a single thought in my head. There's no moral quandary or hesitation, only instinct. I lunge forward and jam the blade into his back as hard as I can. He yelps, and Sparrow finally worms out of his hold, spinning on his heel and swinging his fist before the man even has a chance to work out that the tables have turned. I tug the blade back out, which, for the record, is a hell of a lot harder than I thought it would be. Blood gushes through the tattered fabric of his clothes, and he stumbles again. "Anders!" Sparrow says, holding up his hand. I toss him the blade, and he catches it with ease, like the weapon is an extension of himself. The second his fingers wrap around the hilt, that terrifying smile returns to his lips. "Say hi to your biker besties for me. I hope they're enjoying their stay in hell." He swings the blade, cutting straight across the man's throat like he's slicing through butter. For a single heartbeat, nothing happens, like time is standing still. And then a spray of crimson jettisons from his throat, and he keels forward, collapsing onto the gravel. I drag in gulping breaths and sag against the wall behind me. I can't tear my eyes away as he twitches once and then goes still, spilling a river of blood that's going to leave a permanent dark stain. I just helped kill a man. And if Sparrow hadn't been able to, I think I would have taken the final swing myself. If I hadn't, he would have killed both of us. It's not just a matter of survival, though. I stare at the patch on his jacket again and think about all the people he and his crew have hurt, tortured, watched overdose, and fuck knows what else. Some people don't deserve to be mourned. Some people don't deserve to share oxygen with the rest of us. On some level, I've always believed that, but now I can feel it solidifying inside of me. Some things aren't black or white, good or bad, right or wrong. Some things live in a gray area, and I think I'm okay with that. "You okay?" Sparrow asks gently. I tear my eyes away from the man's unmoving body and nod. "I'm good." The crunch of fast footsteps makes us both tense again. Sparrow holds his blade at the ready and bares his teeth. The man who comes into view clearly isn't another Reaper, though, at least not a sleepless one. He's wearing a dark suit and has a steely look in his ice-blue eyes that softens as soon as his gaze lands on Sparrow. "Fuck, Zav, you scared me." Sparrow bends over and wipes the bloody blade off on the biker dude's jeans, then stuffs it back into its sheath. Zaviaro, the triggerman and right hand to Lorenzo Moretti, sweeps Sparrow off of his feet and kisses him soundly. "What the hell happened here?" he asks gruffly. Sparrow shrugs. "Nothing I couldn't handle, obviously. Although I'm glad you got here just in time for cleanup. I know that's your favorite part." He smirks, and Zaviero mutters something that makes him laugh. "Hey, wait, what are you doing here?" Sparrow narrows his eyes, and Zaviero ducks his head. I would never admit it out loud because I value my life too much, but the Iceman actually looks sheepish. Sparrow shoves his hands purposefully into his jacket pockets, and after a few seconds pulls out a little silver disc between two fingers. "Damn it, Zav," he growls. "I'm gonna shove this stupid tracker up your ass." I slam my hand over my mouth to stifle a laugh, while Zaviaro kisses him again and waggles his eyebrows. "Kinky." "I'll give you kinky, you stalker," Sparrow grumbles, kissing him back. When the kiss deepens, I clear my throat, just in case they've forgotten I'm here. They break apart and both look over at me. "Oh, shit," Zav mutters. I should get a hold of Luca. He's gonna be pissed that you're mixed up in any of this. He waves his hand at the dead body, but then something else flickers through his eyes, and he smiles. Hey, wait. Luca is just one of Sal's soldiers, which means he's basically my bitch. He chuckles and pulls out his phone. He presses a few buttons, and then puts the phone to his ear. Hey, Sal, I just sent you my location. Tell your nephew his boyfriend killed a dude, and he needs to come clean it up. I open my mouth to protest that I only helped kill the guy, but Zaviaro just smirks. I think I spoke too soon earlier when I said my life had gotten weird.
Chapter 14. Luca. Lorenzo said to give it a week, Sal reminds me, sipping from a steaming mug of coffee while I leave mine untouched on his counter. I know, but I thought maybe... Uncle Sal's phone starts to ring and he holds up a finger to tell me to give him a second. That's fine, because I have no fucking clue what I was going to say anyway. I thought maybe you'd give me the go-ahead to take care of this scumbag quick and easy. I thought maybe we could get this prick behind bars before the end of the day today. I thought maybe you'd tell me to forget about waiting and do what I have to. Zav, what's up? Sal says into the phone. His eyes snap to mine and dance with a mixture of concern and amusement as he listens to whatever Zaviaro is saying on the other end of the phone. Yeah, he's right here. I'll send him over. Thanks. He hangs up and then spends a second tapping on his screen. I raise both eyebrows. The trigger man was calling about me? That can't be good. What? I start to ask, but my phone vibrates in my pocket and Sal cuts me off. Zav says your man killed some dude. I just sent you the location so you can go clean up after him. My uncle stuffs his phone back into his pocket and takes another sip of his coffee like what he just said is no big thing. Anders? Who? I fumble for my phone to see where the location is. I would ask what Zaviaro has to do with any of this, but I'm guessing it's related to Sparrow shaking me down this morning for my credit card. Sal just shrugs. Apparently asking follow-up questions didn't occur to him. I don't bother with pleasantries, I just mutter a thanks, dump my full mug of coffee into the sink and take off. A million thoughts run through my head as I weave through traffic, ignoring honks and dirty looks from other drivers on my way to find out what the fuck is going on. Did Anders' father find him somehow? I can't imagine who else he might have killed, although if he was with Sparrow, fuck only knows. I've only met the man twice, but he seems a bit unhinged. Since I'm anticipating hauling a couple 100 pounds of dead weight, I pull around into the wider end of the alley near the delivery entrances and dumpsters and park. I'm not sure what I expected to find, but Anders and Sparrow leaning against the building, laughing while Zaviaro busies himself sorting recycling out of an overflowing trash bin and an unmoving body lies in a pool of blood a few feet away, isn't it? What the hell happened? I ask. I didn't actually kill him, Anders says. I only stabbed him once. Sparrow pats his arm consolingly. If it makes you feel better, he would have bled out eventually. I just sped things along. Zaviaro grunts in agreement, and I just gape at the three of them for a few seconds. Anders doesn't appear to be upset, but it's possible he's just in shock. I step over the body and make my way to him. He straightens up and I notice he's wearing my clothes still, his messenger bag slung over his shoulder as usual and a shopping bag at his feet. When I reach him, I cup his jaw and lean down to rest my forehead against his. What happened, little viper? I ask again, more softly this time. That asshole went after Sparrow and we took care of him. The confidence in his voice and the unwavering way he meets my gaze makes my heart fucking sore. And you're okay? He straightens up just a little more and gives a sharp nod. I'm fine. All right. I run my thumb over his smooth cheek and then brush a quick kiss to his lips. Looks like I'm on cleanup duty then. Zaviaro finishes pulling large scraps of cardboard out of the trash and wipes his hands off on his suit pants. You got it from here, or do you want us to hang around? I'm fine. I wave him off. Thanks. Sparrow steals Anders from me to pull him into a quick hug. You better call me. We're besties now, whether you like it or not. Anders chuckles. Murder is a bonding experience. It really is, he agrees vehemently, then lets Anders go and saunters over to link his hand with Zaviaro's. I think there's a coffee shop right across the street. Why don't you go get something to drink and I'll pull around and pick you up once I've got this taken care of. I nod towards the body. Anders looks at it, then back at me and shakes his head. No, that's okay. I can handle it. I arch an eyebrow, but I'm not going to argue. If he wants to help, he can help. Anders has had enough people in his life take his autonomy away already. I pop open my trunk and pull out the roll of garbage bags I keep on hand for occasions just like this. It's not the first time I've gotten the call to get rid of a body, usually courtesy of Zaviaro himself. He doesn't flinch at pulling the trigger, but the rumor is he hates cleanup. It's not exactly my favorite activity either, but I'm not high enough in the Moretti chain of command to bitch about it. Maybe one day. Anders helps me wrap the body up so it won't leak all over the inside of my trunk. Then he grabs the legs while I grab the front end, and we heave it inside. Hold on, Anders says before I shut the trunk. He rummages through his shopping bag, pulling out a t-shirt and a pair of jeans, then strips out of the oversized clothes he's wearing, right there in the alley. They got some blood on them, he explains, balling them up and stuffing them into another trash bag, then cinching it and tossing it into the trunk with our dead friend. By all means, take your time, I tease, closing the trunk and leaning against it to enjoy the view with a smirk. He snorts and starts to dress in his fresh clothes. There's something different about the way he's holding himself now. The confidence I saw in his eyes is seeping into every part of him, making him hold his head just a little bit higher and move just a little more fluidly. Even the smile twisting his lips looks less forced than any of them have up until now. He runs his fingers through his hair to tame it once he's dressed, and then meets my gaze. My cock plumps lazily and I lick my lips. You look fucking hot, I tell him. He chuckles. Do you mean in my new clothes, or was it the flecks of blood doing it for you? I reach out and tug him in close. He braces his hands on my chest and tilts his head to keep his eyes on mine. It's the I'll fucking cut you energy, little viper, I purr, and he claims my lips in a hard kiss.
Anders. Luca joked last night that leaving bruises on him would be better than therapy, and he wasn't completely wrong. But I think in a fucked up way, what happened today was the kind of catharsis I needed. We leave the city behind, and I can hear the thud of the body in the trunk shifting as Luca takes a sharp left turn onto a hidden side road. You said you're working on getting my dad sent to prison. Do you think that will work? He glances over at me as we bump along a gravel road that leads up the side of a towering hill, trees on either side of us obscuring the late afternoon sun. Honestly, I don't know. I'm betting he's done plenty of illegal shit, but I'm not convinced that any of it will be worth more than a short stint behind bars. Unless Sparrow can find kitty pics on his computer, or you know of anyone he's offed and can get proof, I think it's only a short-term solution. I swallow around the acid building in the back of my throat. Finn texted me yesterday that he might not leave Wildcliff at all. Short-term isn't enough. Luca's nostrils flare and he grunts. I promise you don't need to worry. I told you I'm going to keep you safe, and I mean it. The crazy thing is, I think I believe him. Actually, I know I do. Luca has kept every promise so far. He's passed every test I've unintentionally given him. He's been exactly who he said he would be. I reach over and put my hand on his thigh, warming inside from the small amount of connection and the way he presses up into my touch like he needs it as much as I do. I think we should just kill him. He chuckles. One afternoon with Sparrow and you're positively bloodthirsty. He reminded me of who I used to be. Not the murder, exactly, but the rest of it. I'm done being docile. You and Sparrow reminded me that I have fangs, and I'm going to use them from now on. Luca groans and reaches between his legs. You've never been sexier. Do you know that? I believe him when he says that, too. He doesn't just want the easy, quiet, agreeable parts of me. He wants all of me. We reach the end of the road where the trees part and slow to a stop in the middle of the clearing. A few feet ahead, there's a steep drop-off, and in the distance is a breathtaking view of the city skyline. From up here, it almost looks like a nice place to live. I glance over at Luca again, and a grin twitches on my lips. Maybe it's all about perspective. We get out of the car and work together to carry the body over to the ledge, which is apparently a ravine. "Set it down here," Luca instructs. "There's a standing directive not to toss the plastic bags into the water if we can help it. After seeing Zav playing Captain Planet in the alley today, I'm guessing that comes from him." I laugh and help him tear the bags off before we roll the body over the ledge. "Wow, my first body dump," I muse, brushing my hands off on my jeans when we're done. "Do I get a merit badge or what?" "No, you're thinking of the Girl Scouts," he deadpans. "Ah, right. A difficult badge for 8-year-old girls to earn, I imagine." We both chuckle, and I grab Luca by the tie, yanking him towards me. He stumbles and groans, letting me claim his lips in a rough, deep kiss. Our tongues tangle, and I greedily soak up the heat of his mouth against mine. His cock swells and stiffens against my stomach, and mine thickens as it rubs along his thigh. I wrap his tie around my fist and tug it a little tighter, devouring the little whimper he feeds me in response as I back him up against the hood of his car. "Are 2 other guys in expensive Italian suits going to show up here to dump a different body in, 2 minutes?" I ask, nipping his bottom lip and reaching between us with my other hand to play with his belt buckle. Luca jerks his hips forward and moans as he chases my lips. "Nah, even on a busy day, it's hard to murder more than 1 asshole per hour," he jokes. "Good." I flick my wrist, and his belt falls open. I can't even remember the last time I sucked a dick because I wanted to, because my mouth was watering for it, because I craved the man it was attached to like I crave oxygen. I kiss Luca deeply again, sliding my tongue over his and working his pants open with a few more quick tugs. His lips taste sweet against mine, and something tells me his cum is going to taste even sweeter. Every part of the last week feels like the most batshit insane dream I've ever had, but the longer it lasts, the more I don't want it to end. If there really is a way to deal with my dad for good, that would mean I don't have to leave Wildcliff to have a life of my own, and neither does Finn. I can go to college and hang out with Sparrow. I can let this weird, gentle, crazy mafioso call me his boyfriend if he really wants to. I break the kiss and sink to my knees. The smell of fresh grass and even fresher air tickles my nose, but in seconds it's overpowered by the citrus scent of Luca's skin as I tug the front of his briefs down and his cock springs free. It swings in front of my face, hard and flushed, a bead of pre-cum pearled on the tip. I lick my lips and wrap my hand around his shaft, stroking towards me so his foreskin bunches loosely over his swollen cockhead. I look up at him and hold his gaze, getting drunk on the desperation and need shining in his eyes, and the shocking amount of adoration etched onto his face as he looks down at me. His hands are braced on the hood of his car, his legs spread, his thighs trembling, and I realize that, like always, he's waiting for me. He's giving himself over to me. He said the other night that I'm his, but I think it's the other way around, too. Luca Moretti is mine. And I want him to be. I gently tug his foreskin between my teeth and his eyes go wide, his lips falling open on a moan that comes straight from his gut. I bite down just a little harder and he shouts, a heavy spurt of pre-cum painting my lips. I let him go and lick my lips clean again, shivering at the salty, sweet flavor of his excitement. I release my hold on his shaft, letting his foreskin roll back again to expose the almost purple head of his erection. With a wicked grin, I wrap my fingers roughly around his sack and swallow his cock down. His balls twitch and tighten in my grasp as he hits the back of my throat, and I swallow around him to take his cock deeper. I forgot how good, warm, bare skin feels in my mouth. I drag my tongue over each one of his throbbing veins and savor the silky softness under my lips. The tang of his sweat and that underpinning flavor of citrus dance over my taste buds and make me moan around him. I can't tear my eyes away from his face as I suck and lick him. His eyebrows bunch together and his muscles twitch, then slacken, then flutter again with a million micro-expressions of pleasure and wonder and need. I squeeze his sack again until his balls swell in my palm while his cock stiffens and another burst of pre-cum slicks my tongue. I lap eagerly at his slit and give his balls a gentle twist. Luca gasps and grunts, and I greedily swallow him down again. There's something almost meditative about getting lost in the rhythm of the blowjob. I bob my head faster, tugging at his sack harder until I can feel him getting close to the edge. His whimpers and moans are louder and needier, his fingers twitching and tightening against his car. I loosen my grip and slow my rhythm, and Luca shouts with frustration. If I could laugh with my mouth full, I would. Instead, I settle for a teasing wink, slowly building up my rhythm again until he's right back to teetering on the edge of pleasure. I bring him to the edge 3 times, and by the third, he's starting to come unraveled in the most beautiful way. He tangles his fingers in my hair and snaps his hips desperately, fucking my mouth and panting my name in a hoarse voice. I let my teeth scrape along his shaft just a little, just enough to give him that mild sting he loves so much. I can feel the throbbing pulse in his balls, twitching and swelling, trying to pull up closer to his body as his pleasure mounts again. "Please," he gasps, his head falling back and his face contorting. "Please, please, Anders." I hum around his shaft and swallow him deep again, filling my throat with his cock, cutting off my oxygen for a moment. I give his balls a sharp twist this time, and Luca's whole body convulses like he's been electrocuted. He shouts my name again and unleashes a flood of cum, coating my tongue and the back of my throat, coming in waves so fast I barely have time to swallow each one before he feeds me another. I wrench my jeans open with my free hand and fish my cock out. It's already throbbing and leaking, aching with every one of Luca's moans and twitches. I suck him until he's spent, and when he starts to soften, I increase the pressure of the suction with my lips. He hisses and whines, but after a few hard flicks of my tongue against his overly sensitive cockhead, the sounds he's making take on a fresh edge of desperation. I stroke myself furiously while I suck him, moaning around his cock and thrusting into my fist. Luca tugs at my hair, pulling me closer and trying to push me away at the same time, like he can't decide whether it's too much or not enough. Probably both. Heat rises up the back of my neck and races down my spine as my cock swells in my grasp. I give the wet head of his cock another hard flick with my tongue, tasting the remnants of his dribbling cum. My balls tighten, and I make a strangled noise around his shaft, my orgasm punching through me violently. Luca wails at the same time, and I feel his cock spasm against my tongue again, pulsing in time with the pleasure that racks my body. There's no cum this time, all of it already spent, but that doesn't make the jolts and twitches of pleasure that rush through his body any less satisfying. My release spills into the grass between us, a few ropes landing on Luca's shoes as I fuck my fist and suck him through his second orgasm. I finally release him from between my lips, a string of spit and cum connecting us for a second, before I sag forward to rest my forehead against his thigh while I catch my breath. Luca drags in heavy, ragged breaths too, stroking his fingers gently through my hair now and murmuring sweet words I can't really make out over the rushing of my pulse in my ears. They make my heart swell all the same. "Hey, once I can feel my legs again, you want to go to dinner? I have a stupid amount of money in my bag and a very good boy who deserves a proper first date." Luca's breath hitches, and his fingers still for a second, and then he laughs. "I hate to tell you, but we already had our first date, little viper." I scoff and look up at him. "That wasn't a first date, it was a kidnapping." "You know you're a huge pain in the ass, right?" He offers me his hand to help me back to my feet, then drags his thumb over my damp lips as I lean in close to bump my nose against his. "Then it's a good thing you're such a pain slut," I tease, reaching around to pinch his ass. The laughter that echoes between us, cut off by the softer kisses we trade while I blindly tug all of his clothes back into place and make us both presentable, feels cleansing somehow. It feels intimate. It feels like I'm falling for Luca Moretti. Chapter 15. Anders. The animal part of my brain is on high alert stepping back onto campus after what happened last time. But it's the middle of the day, with smiling students hurrying between buildings, and as far as I know, Finn hasn't been drinking, so fingers crossed this is a very different kind of visit. I shove my hands into my pockets and tilt my head back to take in the full, towering height of the brick building in front of me. I don't know how they do it. It's just bricks and mortar, but somehow it looks intimidating and smart, beckoning me in with the promise of knowledge and sneering at me for being the wrong kind of person at the same time. I huff and glare defiantly. I could be a college student if I wanted to. Anns! Finn's booming voice drags me out of my one-sided staring contest with the humanities building. I spin around to find my brother jogging towards me, his floppy blonde hair bouncing with his stride like he's a golden retriever. I chuckle and pull my hands out of my pockets, opening my arms just seconds before he crashes into me with a laugh. "You big doofus," I say, stumbling before he catches me in a crushing hug. "Who are you calling a doofus?" he scoffs, ruffling my hair. "You're looking at a soon-to-be college graduate." I smile and shove him off of me. "Just wait until you figure out that both can be true." He throws an arm around my shoulders, and we head in the direction of his favorite coffee shop. While we walk, Finn talks about his friends and his upcoming finals. I listen, nodding or laughing in the appropriate spots, and doing my best to ignore the knots in my stomach. Of all the things I resent my shitty, drunk father for, putting this invisible wall between me and Finn is right at the top of the list. I want to tell him about Luca, about the week I've spent staying at his place and how unexpectedly sweet he is. I want to gush about our late nights watching terrible horror movies and talking until sunrise. I want to tell Finn that I've never felt this way about anyone before and that I think I'm falling for the gorgeous, thoughtful, subby mafioso. But I can't. If I tell him any of that, I'll have to lie about how Luca and I met, and I'm so fucking tired of all the lies. "You okay?" Finn asks, dropping his arm and pulling the cafe door open. "You got really quiet all of a sudden." I shake my head and force a smile. "I'm good. Just a little tired." More lies. Sigh. He nods and just keeps grinning, as usual. I nudge my brother towards an empty table and then go up to the counter to order our usual drinks. When I slide into the seat across from him, Finn is sitting on the edge of his chair, bouncing his knee under the table. "Everything okay with you?" I ask, scooping a little bit of the whipped cream from his drink onto my finger and shoving it into my mouth. "Yeah, I'm good. It's just... I called Dad yesterday to remind him about graduation, and he seemed..." He bites his lip and shakes his head. Goosebumps erupt all over my skin, and my heart squeezes so tight that I'm almost positive I'm seconds from having a heart attack. "He has a cold. He probably took some cold medicine." Lie, lie, lie. "Don't worry about it." His eyebrows pull together, and he looks at me for a second, clearly skeptical, before he grunts in acknowledgement and takes a sip of his drink. "Yeah, okay," he agrees. "Listen, Finn." Can he hear the tremble in my voice? I hope not. I curl my fingers into a fist under the table, flexing them open and closed for something to focus on other than the cold feeling seeping into my bones. "If Dad ever makes you nervous or shows up acting weird, I want you to call me right away, okay?" He cocks his head and frowns deeper. "What do you... just promise?" "Sure, I promise." I let out a shaky breath and then pick up my drink to take a sip. "So, are you excited about the big move?" It's possible that I've been residing firmly in the denial stage of dealing with Finn's latest news. As much as I'd love for my brother to stay close, I don't know how I'll keep him safe if he's here, not only from our dad, but from all the things he doesn't need to know about. For all he knows, I've been a bartender for the last few years. How would he react to the truth? How would he feel knowing I'm living with him already? I imagine Sparrow meeting Finn, and I have to hold back a laugh at how adorable the psycho twink would be about my sweet himbo brother. "I told you I'm staying in Wildcliff," he says. "I already accepted the job, and I was able to break my lease at the other place, although they did keep my deposit. I was actually going to ask you if you'd come with me to look at apartments in the city tomorrow after my finals." "Are you sure?" I tap my foot against the linoleum floor. A whole other city would be a big, fun adventure, don't you think? Finn's smile falls again. Sure, but you're here. The job pays the same, and I never really wanted to move, so it just makes sense to stay. Right, I choke, gulping down more of my hot, overly sweet drink and ignoring the way it scalds my tongue. Are you sure everything is okay? You're acting weird today, Ans. I'm fine. I look across the table at my brother, and the need to protect him turns to steel inside of me. I don't know how I'm going to keep him from all the crazy underworld shit in my life, but I'll have to find a way. Of course I'll look at apartments with you tomorrow. Just text me the time and address, and I'll be there. His smile returns, like the sun shining through the clouds. Cool. I don't know what I'd do without you. I let out a weak laugh and reach across the table to pat his hand. That's what big brothers are for, Finny.
Luca. I still daydream about the way Anders greeted me at the door last week. All rough kisses and desperation, but the soft sound of his fingers tapping over the laptop keyboard as I step inside and bend down to untie my shoes makes my heart race in a completely different way. Bringing him here was an impulsive decision, but having him here when I come home every night, waking up next to him every morning, getting the chance to soak up all of his snark and justifiable rage, it's become an addiction I have no interest in kicking. I loosen my tie as I come around the corner into the living room. Anders doesn't notice my entrance for a few seconds, his forehead wrinkled with concentration and his lips pursed as he stares intently at the computer screen, his fingers flying over the keyboard expertly. His eyes flicker in my direction and he startles. "Jesus!" he shouts, flipping the laptop off his lap and then clutching his chest with breathless laughter. "You scared the fuck out of me." I chuckle and cross the room in a few strides, stooping down to pick up the computer. Whatever he's writing is still open on the screen. I try to glance at it, but he snatches the laptop from me and slams it closed quickly. "Writing your memoirs?" I guess teasingly, straightening back up to my full height before bending over and bracing my hands on the back of the couch to bring my face close to Anders. He wraps his hand around my slack tie and yanks on it, bringing his lips to mine. "No, but that shit would be a bestseller if I did. Tragic backstory, forced prostitution, the Mafia. It's got Lifetime movie written all over it." I smile and sink onto the couch next to him. "What do you think about ordering a pizza for dinner?" I pull my phone out of my pocket. "Only if you get pineapple on my half without giving me any attitude about it." I grin a little wider and lean over to nuzzle his ear. "What happens if I do give you attitude? Will you punish me?" "Yes, but it won't be the fun kind," he says in a low voice that sends heat racing down my spine. "None of the rough play you love so much. Instead, I'll be so gentle with you, you'll cry." I scoff and he cackles, turning his head to nip at my bottom lip. "Just order the pizza. I'm sure you can find a more fun way to annoy me tonight." I chuckle and place our order while Anders pulls up a show we've been binge-watching. "It's stupid," he says once I put my phone away again. "What is?" I frown. "What I was writing. It's an admissions essay for the university. I'm probably not even going to send it. It was just in my head, so I thought I'd write it down." His tone is tight, and so is the way he shrugs his shoulders like it's no big deal. "You never mentioned wanting to go to college. Do you have a major in mind?" I drag my fingers absently along the back of his neck. "No," he says in a clipped tone, his shoulders stiff for a few seconds before he lets out a breath and relaxes a fraction. "I don't know, maybe psychology. But you can't even do anything with it unless you get at least a master's." "So get a master's." He snorts. "Oh, sure, easy peasy." I squeeze the back of his neck and he leans into my touch. "I didn't say it was easy. You've done plenty of hard things, my little viper. I have no doubt you can do this too." He shivers and looks over at me again, his eyes full of unreadable emotions that make my chest feel like it's cracking wide open. "I don't know. Everything still feels like it's kind of a mess. I'm not sure it's the right time to think about school." I grunt. If he needs a little more time to adjust to the idea that he's not under his father's thumb anymore, that's fine. I won't push him. "Do you have any updates yet?" he asks. Not yet. I'm meeting with Sparrow tomorrow to find out what he managed to get, if anything. Anders nods and looks away, focusing on the TV without really looking like he's watching it. I brush a strand of hair off of his forehead and lean over to press a kiss to the corner of his lips. They twitch into a half-smile before falling again. Whatever's going to happen with him, we need to deal with it. Soon. He shifts in his seat and bites his bottom lip. We will, I promise. If your father comes anywhere near you again, it'll be the last thing he ever does. Chapter 16. Luca. Give me some good news. I pounce on Sparrow with the command before he even has a chance to take a seat. We agreed to meet at a bar down the street from my place, formerly known as the Starlight, but recently acquired by the Morettis and renamed On Tap. Sparrow flattens his lips and pulls out the chair across from mine. It's midday, so the bar is fairly quiet, but the bartender knows well enough to leave us to our business. What would you consider good? He drags his fingers through his messy hair and crosses his ankle over his knee. I bite back a low growl and level him with a look to let him know that I'm not in the fucking mood today. Anders' anger is fun. The sad, desperate feeling rolling off of him last night, though, not so much. His father needs to be handled, and soon. Ideally that we've got the bastard dead to rights on the kind of shit that will send him away until he's old enough to collect retirement benefits. Sparrow's lips turn down and his eyes flash with sympathy. I grip the table and consider flipping it the fuck over. He doesn't have that kind of good news, I can already tell. I managed to dig up some stuff, but for the most part it's all petty crimes. Our best bet is to get him on human trafficking. The paper trail of the money going out of Anders' account into his father's should be pretty solid, along with Anders' testimony against him. He'd be looking at 20 to life, assuming they don't plead him out. My jaw ticks and I drum my fingers on the table, considering the option. Anders will have to go to the police station to report everything. He'll have to sit in a courtroom and tell the world what his father made him do. His brother will find out. It'll be public record for the rest of his life. I'll talk to him about it, I say gruffly. I already know Anders won't like that option, though, which leaves us with just one. You're pretty close with Lorenzo. If the change of subject throws him, he doesn't show it. He shrugs. He's not exactly the warm, cuddly, let's have a slumber party and share our feelings type. I snort, imagining the stoic boss wearing fuzzy pajamas with ice cream cones on them and one of those gooey green face masks while he and Sparrow stay up late gossiping and having pillow fights. As close as Lorenzo gets with anyone, I amend, and Sparrow shrugs again in response, his expression not giving much away. You think he'll go off the rails if I take this matter into my own hands and just end it? He's quiet for a few beats, seeming to measure his words before he responds. I think he would get over it. He drags his hand over his smooth jaw, looking up at the ceiling and then returning his gaze to mine. And hey, maybe someone who doesn't have to answer to Lorenzo will take care of it for you. There's a part of me that wants to insist on seeing the life drain out of that asshole's eyes myself, that thinks the revenge for everything he did to Anders belongs to me. But at the end of the day, who pulls the trigger doesn't make much difference, so long as my little viper is safe. I nod and Sparrow raps his knuckles on the table, shoots me a twisted smirk, then leaves without another word.
Anders. Let me guess. You sent me the wrong address for the apartment showing, I say in greeting, my phone wedged between my ear and my shoulder as I step into my jeans. Finn's shaky exhale on the other end sends my heart racing before he's even said a word. Finn? You said to call if you ever showed up acting weird? He whispers so quietly that I have to press the phone harder to my ear to hear him. Or maybe that's because my pulse is thundering now, whooshing like the ocean during a storm as I fight to keep my breathing even. The blood in my veins goes hot and cold all at once, and in the background I hear a loud thud, thud, thud that can only be him knocking at Finn's door. Are your roommates there? I ask, not bothering to even button my jeans, just rushing out of the bedroom towards the front door. No. The answer is a whimper more than a word. He keeps asking where you are. He said something about you owing him and you breaking some deal. He's not making any sense. He sounds drunk. I growl, shoving my feet into my shoes. I don't owe that prick a goddamn thing. And Finn sounds so young and helpless, it strips away any ounce of fear inside of me and replaces it with determination. What's going on? Why is he acting like this? There's another series of loud thuds and muffled shouting I can't make out. I should tell Finn to call the police, let them toss our dad into the drunk tank for a day or so. Hell, if he doesn't, someone else on his floor probably will any second. But knowing that dickhead, he'll be right back at my brother's door the second the police release him. Give him my address. I rattle off Luca's address to him. He lets out another trembling breath that crackles through the phone. There's something wrong with him. I'm not going to just send him to you like this. Finn, listen to me. I infuse my voice with every ounce of authority I have inside of me. I'll explain things to you later, but right now I need you to trust me when I tell you I can handle him. I've been dealing with this shit for a while now. It's the closest I've come to telling my brother the truth about what's been going on, but every ounce of relief I get from it comes with a few fresh knots tying themselves into my gut. He's quiet on the other end for several long seconds. Even the pounding stops for a minute. Why didn't you tell me? Finn asks softly. A weak laugh tightens my throat, and I drag my free hand through my hair. I'm your big brother. The pounding starts back up. Do it. Give him my address, now. Okay. It sounds like he utters the agreement through clenched teeth, and then the line goes dead. Fuck. I press my hand against the front door, my fingers curling involuntarily into a fist against the smooth wood as I work to get my heart rate under control. It shouldn't take my dad more than half an hour to get here, but then what? I thought sending him the money would keep him off my back for at least another week or two. I haven't missed a single nightly payment since I've been staying at Luca's, but apparently the drunk old man finally realized I wasn't coming home and decided to take issue with that. What I need now is a plan. My phone is still clutched in my hand, so I pull up Luca's contact and press the call button. It rings until his generic voicemail message picks up. I hang up without leaving a message. My next call is Sparrow, but his doesn't even ring before going straight to voicemail. I growl in frustration and send them both a text telling them that shit is about to go down. Who knows if they'll see it before my dad shows up, though. I'm certainly not going to sit around helpless, hoping for the cavalry to arrive and save my ass. With a deep breath, I shove my phone into my pocket and go into prep mode. One thing I'm sure of is that I'm not going to let him put his hands on me. I've had enough bruises thanks to my dear old dad, and I'm drawing the line now. I stride back into the bedroom and pull open Luca's top dresser drawer, pushing his socks and underwear to one side and then the other in search of any hidden weapons. He keeps his pistol with him, but surely a mafioso keeps spares lying around, right? In the second drawer, I find a neon pink dildo stuffed behind all of his folded jeans. If this situation were less dire, I might spare a second to come up with a few ways to use that to have some fun with Luca later, but I don't have time for that right now. In the third drawer, I strike gold, pulling a small pistol out from underneath his t-shirts. I wrap my fingers around the handle, testing the unfamiliar weight in my hand. I've never fired a gun in my life, but until recently I'd never stabbed anyone either. There's a first time for everything, and necessity breeds invention, or whatever other cliches apply to this situation, because apparently I'm doing this. Can I actually shoot my own father? I have no fucking clue, but at least I'll have the option if it comes to that. With the gun in hand, I go back to the front hall and stand by the door. I feel like I should be thinking about everything he's done to me, or maybe about all the good times we had when my mom was still around, but my mind goes peacefully blank. Everything inside of me goes carefully numb as I stand like a sentry by the door, waiting. When the knock finally comes, it's not what I'm expecting. It's not heavy and stilted like I would expect in my father's drunken state. It's a rapid, sharp rap. My heart leaps. Maybe it's Sparrow. I unhook the chain and fling the door open, my gun at the ready just in case it is my father. The air punches out of my lungs and my eyes widen. Finn, what the fuck are you doing here? My brother looks over his shoulder and then back at me. I told him the address like you said, but he wouldn't stop. He just kept yelling and pounding on the door, so I climbed out the window. Fuck, I mutter, grabbing him and dragging him inside. So he could be right behind you? Maybe. I don't know. His eyes drop to the gun in my hand, and he stumbles back a step. Anders, what the fuck? I flex my fingers around the handle and set my jaw. There's a lot you don't understand, Finney. I need to get you out of here before he shows up. We can email your professors that you had a family emergency. Maybe we can even get them to let you write papers or something instead of sitting for the finals. We'll put you on a bus out of town. I tuck the gun into my waistband, a plan starting to form in my mind about how to keep my brother safe for a little while longer. The ever-present sweetness in Finn's eyes slips, replaced with something hard and determined. No, he says firmly. No, I'm not going anywhere. Tell me what's going on, and we'll deal with it together. His voice is just as firm as his expression, and I feel like I'm seeing the exact moment my baby brother turns from a little kid into a grown man. Pride and affection surge in my chest, and I pull him into a hug. I just wanted to protect you, I murmur against his shoulder. I know, but you can't protect me forever. I nod. A lot of it is really fucked up. I bite my lip and turn away from him so he won't see the tears welling up in my eyes. He's had a drinking problem for a while now. Drugs, too. Fuck knows what else. Gambling, maybe. It doesn't really matter. Finn puts a hand on my shoulder, and my muscles all tighten, my heart beating faster as I weigh my confession on my tongue. He made me do some really gross shit to pay for his addictions. His fingers tighten, and he draws in a sharp breath. Like, what? Sex for money, I bite out bluntly. I can feel Finn's wince, his whole body flinching behind me. And I did it because I couldn't see any other choice. If I hadn't, he was going to come after you. What? He hisses and recoils. Anders, you shouldn't. I spin back around and take my brother's face between my hands with a hard look that I hope he understands. I'll never regret protecting you. A resounding thud, thud, thud against the door startles Finn, but not me. My nerves are pure steel right now. Everything inside of me is made of solid, immovable stone. There's no time to get him out of here. There's no way to shield him from this completely anymore. Go to the bedroom and lock the door, I say firmly. He shakes his head. No, he says again. I'm with you. I want to argue, but he's an adult now, and he has the most important facts. If he wants to face this with me, I can't stop him. Fine. Go to the living room at least. Please? He drops his gaze to the handle of the pistol sticking out of my jeans, and after a half-second of hesitation, he goes down the hallway and disappears into the living room. Open up, you ungrateful little shit! I know you're in there! Your precious little cunt of a brother sold you out! I grind my teeth and stride forward, whipping the door open. My dad stumbles at the unexpected move. His eyes are glassy, and it takes a minute for recognition to dawn. When he realizes he's standing face to face with me, a cruel smile curls on his lips. His hair is greasy and disheveled, just like his clothes, and he smells like he fell ass first into a barrel of whiskey, which probably isn't too far from the truth. I told him to give you my address, you fucking loser. Now come inside before one of the neighbors calls the cops on you. I jerk my head and step out of the way. My heart thuds out a surprisingly even beat as he steps over the threshold, and I swing the door closed behind him. Is this how a spider feels when a fly buzzes into its web? No, it's more like a mama bear standing between her cubs and a hunter, ice cold with justifiable rage, ready to do whatever is necessary to remove the threat. Drink? I offer with mock cheer. Oh wait, you've probably already had a few, am I right? He growls and narrows his eyes at me. That smart mouth of yours is back. Thought you'd finally figured out how to keep it shut. I bark out a laugh. It wasn't shut, Pop. It was just too full of dick. You practically forced down my throat to manage any snarky comments in the last few years. Even in his drunken state, with all of his morals presumably dead and buried, he at least has the decency for his face to turn a violent shade of crimson. I'm betting it's more out of anger than embarrassment for how he treated me, but any acknowledgement of how fucked up it was feels like a win. I strut down the hallway, trusting that he'll be right behind me. I don't want to lead him right to Finn, but this isn't a conversation I want to have in the hallway either. As soon as I step into the living room, my brother launches himself off of the couch. I put up a hand to stop him, though. I've got this, I assure him. You know, Dad, you should congratulate me, actually. He scoffs. For what? I grin. I got a new boyfriend. It's serious, too. We're living together and everything. I gesture to the apartment around us. His brow furrows, and he sways as he looks around, seemingly surprised to see where he's even standing right now. His name is Luca. Luca Moretti. The terror that flashes through his eyes is satisfying all the way down to my bones. He tries to scoff again, but the sound comes out choked, and he sputters over a cough. Yeah, right, he mumbles, wiping the spit off of the corner of his mouth with the back of his hand. That's fine. You don't have to believe me. I shrug, wrapping my fingers around the handle of the gun and pulling it out of my waistband. I don't point it at him, but even hanging by my side, I think he understands the threat I'm making. But the little arrangement you and I had, it's done now. I don't care how you get your money anymore. You can sell your own ass, donate your organs, although I'm sure they're too pickled to be worth much, or panhandle downtown. You can die penniless on the street with a needle in your arm for all I care. You're not going to ask me for another dime, though. His eyes dart past me in search of Finn, but I take a slight step to the left to block his view. And if you so much as look at Finn, I promise I'll make you suffer. The crystalline calm inside of me doesn't waver. I flex my fingers around the handle of the gun and watch his throat bob as he swallows hard, considering his options. He meets my eyes with nothing but disdain. I wonder again if he was ever a good father, or if our mom was just as skilled at protecting us as I've become. Did he hurt her? Did he put her through any of the things he's put me through? The thought sours in my stomach, and my breathing kicks up a notch. He pulls his lips back in a snarl, baring his yellowed teeth at me as if he's in any position to be making threats. You spoiled, disgusting, Wrong answer, I hiss, raising the gun and pulling the trigger without even a second of hesitation. Time seems to slow down. I don't actually hear the pop of the gun going off, but my ears ring all the same. A dark spot appears in the middle of his forehead, and his eyes go wide like he can't believe I shot him. His body crumples like a building toppling, his knees giving out first before he keels forward. The back of his head is a mangled mess compared to the hole between his eyes, and just like that, everything feels real. Sounds return to the world, time finds the correct place, and it hits me that I just shot my father. Holy fuck. Holy fuck. Holy fuck, Finn pants behind me. I drop the gun and whirl around, opening my arms for him. He falls into me instantly, burying his face against my shoulder and trembling from head to toe as he drags in gasping breaths. I make soothing noises, stroking his back in slow circles as I wait for guilt or fear or anything to descend on me, but the only thing I feel is relief. Finn is safe. I'm safe. That's all that matters. I don't flinch at the sound of the door opening a few minutes later, but my brother tenses in my arms. In here, I say calmly. Steady footsteps approach, and seconds later, a high, almost manic laugh that definitely doesn't belong to Luca breaks through the tension in the air. Well, shit! It looks like I missed the fun.
Chapter 17. Luca. My heart hammers as the ring of the phone echoes in my ear. This is Anders. Leave him a message if you want, but let's be real. Who listens to their voicemail anymore? The beep sounds when I end the call, growling at a curse. I'm in a full-out sprint as I round the corner towards my building, redialing Anders for the umpteenth time since I saw his text. Ring. I jog up the steps towards the main building door. Ring. I wedge my phone between my ear and shoulder and fumble for my keys with shaking hands. Ring. I ram the key blindly around the edges of the keyhole, grumbling every time I miss it. I've faced down the barrel of countless guns myself, watched the life drain out of the eyes of men, seen my own life flash before my eyes, but I've never been scared like I am right now, not knowing what's happening to Anders right now outside of his vague text message about shit going down. I hold my breath as the ringing abruptly cuts off, finally managing to get my key into the lock so I can fling the door open. Anders' phone, who may I say is calling? A snarky voice answers, followed by a grunt. Sparrow, I growl with a mixture of relief and frustration. If he's with Anders, that's probably good news. But why isn't my little viper answering his own phone? Where's Anders? I take the stairs 2 at a time up to my floor. His brother looked like he was going to hurl, so Anders is with him in the bathroom while I deal with the aftermath. He grunts again. I end the call without formalities and shove my phone back into my pocket. My apartment door is ajar when I reach the landing. I hurry through it and swing it closed behind me. The metallic smell of blood and the distinct odor of gunpowder hit me immediately. A thump and grunt from the living room have me hurrying down the hallway, prepared to deal with whatever aftermath Sparrow alluded to. I round the corner to find my living room furniture all pushed back, a spray of crimson painting one wall, with a distinct bullet hole right in the middle, leaving no room to wonder what the hell happened. Sparrow is bent over my rolled-up area rug, a dark stain soaking through on one end. I hope you weren't too attached to this rug. It wasn't exactly salvageable, he says without turning around. He gets his hand under one side of the lumpy shape that I'm assuming is Anders' father, rolling it over with another thump and a final grunt before straightening up and swiping the back of his arm over his forehead. I always thought Zav was being kind of a priss about cleanup, but he's right. It's a huge pain in the ass. He turns around to face me, his t-shirt smeared with streaks of blood. I don't give a fuck about the rug. I finally catch up to answering his question. And thanks. Do you know what happened? I glance in the direction of the half bathroom just beyond the living room, itching to find Anders. Sparrow shrugs. Anders took care of the bastard before I got here. I figured I'd do my good deed for the year and deal with this so he could regroup and take care of his brother. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm sure Anders does too. It feels like such an oddly formal thing to say about someone cleaning up a dead body for you. But Sparrow just nods and waves off the thanks. Go check on your man. Zav should be here any minute to haul this fucker down the stairs and drive him up to the ravine. He kicks the lumpy carpet for good measure. I nod in thanks one more time and leave him to finish up. I hesitate outside the bathroom just long enough to knock. Come in. Anders' voice is muffled by the door, but the sound of it makes my body tingle like it always does. He sounds calm, even, under control, but it's possible he hasn't fully processed the fact that he shot his own father. I push the door open slowly and peek my head inside. There's a larger man sitting on the floor near the toilet, his back against the wall, a faraway haunted look in his eyes, which happened to be the same shade of ice blue as Anders's. I give him my best sympathetic smile, but I'm not sure he even really sees it through his state of shock. Anders is standing, leaning against the adjacent wall, his hands in his pockets, his hair falling over his forehead and his eyebrows scrunched with worry as he looks at his brother. I close the space between us and pull him into my arms, crushing his body to mine. The warmth of his skin and the familiar weight of him against me instantly steadies the anxious quiver inside of me. He's tense for a moment, but then he relaxes into me, curling his fingers around my tie and burying his face against my throat. I press my nose into his hair and breathe him in, closing my eyes and just feeling the steady beat of his heart and the measured in and out of his breaths for a few seconds. I'm sorry I wasn't here, I murmur. I'm so fucking sorry. It's okay. I'm okay. He repeats the reassurance a few times, stroking his fingers up and down the back of my neck, every exhale warm and fluttering against my throat. His voice is strong, but just a little hollow. If I had to guess, he's more worried about Finn than processing his own feelings about what just happened right now. I kiss the top of his head a few times, squeezing him tighter before letting him go, taking his face in my hands and looking into his eyes. You're the strongest, bravest, most incredible man I've ever known. Do you know that? There are more words on my tongue than I'm dying to say to him, but it's probably not the time with his brother having a breakdown on the floor a foot away and his father's dead body in the next room. A small smile appears and he nods, tilting his face up and brushing a quick kiss over my lips. This isn't exactly the introduction I was hoping for, Anders says, looking past me towards his brother. But what the hell? We're all here, so why the fuck not? Finn, this is my boyfriend, Luca. Luca, Finn. His brother blinks like he's working his way out of a heavy sleep, and looks around the bathroom for a second before his eyes land on me, focused for the first time. Luca Moretti, Finn says. I grimace and run a hand over the back of my head. I'm not sure there's ever a good way to tell your boyfriend's family that you're in the Mafia, but this really doesn't feel like a good first impression. Does he think I turned his brother into a bloodthirsty killer? Does he think I'm no better than their father, grooming Anders just to pimp him out or abuse him later? My jaw ticks and 1,000 defenses and reassurances jump to my lips, but before I can start in on any of them, Finn clambers to his feet and throws his arms around me in a hug. Thank you for everything you did for him. You saved him. I glance over at Anders, not sure what to say. A genuine smile turns up the corners of his lips this time, the spark returning to his eyes. I swallow around a lump in my throat, my heart beating furiously with the need to drag Anders away so I can spend the rest of the afternoon kissing him and making sure he's okay. I saved myself, Finny, Anders says wryly, shooting me a cheeky wink that tells me better than any words could that he really is going to be all right, and this hasn't scarred him for life. Luca just reminded me that I'm a predator, not prey.
Anders. Sparrow knocks on the bathroom door and pokes his head in to give us the all clear. He gives me a significant look that I know means I'm proud of you and call me if you need to talk, then blows me a kiss and takes off. Finn is still in a daze, so I don't push to leave the bathroom right away. Luca comes in and out, adorably concerned about my brother, bringing us mugs of hot cocoa and repeatedly offering Finn the guest bedroom, letting him know he's welcome to stay here as long as he wants. The numbness I felt in the middle of everything slowly slips away over the course of the afternoon, leaving me with a jumble of emotions tangled up inside my chest and gut. But, surprisingly, most of them aren't so bad. Relief and a sense of power overshadow any guilt by a mile, which is more than I'd hoped for. I hold Finn's hand and stroke his hair. He peppers me with questions about the last few years on and off, and I answer them all as honestly as I can. With our father gone, all the memories carry less weight, like I'm describing the plot of a movie rather than my own life. The Anders who suffered it all is at the bottom of the ravine, right next to the man who caused all of it. It turns out, justified murder is an even better form of therapy than rough sex. Go figure. I should probably call the leasing offices for all the apartments I was supposed to see today and reschedule, Finn says absently. I snort a laugh. Yes, clearly that's the top priority. Why don't you give me a list, and I'll take care of it. The color is returning to his cheeks, and he's more lively than he was an hour ago. Even his hands feel less clammy. No, he shakes his head. I can never thank you enough for everything you've done for me, Ans. But it's time I start doing for myself. I squeeze his hand and kiss his cheek. Okay. As long as you know that I'm always here when you need help. There's no shame in needing people. I know. He lets out a breath that manages to convey a sense of closure and determination in a way I had no idea a simple exhale could. He pats my hand and gets back to his feet. If it really is okay, I will stay for a night or two. Then I have to get back to campus to start taking my finals. Of course it's okay, I assure him. I'm going to go back to my dorm and pack a bag, and then I'll be back. How about if I pick up some takeout on my way? It's been ages since we've eaten Thai food and watched mindless action movies. What do you say? I ruffle my brother's hair and grin. It sounds great. Get enough food for Luca, too. Hold on, I can give you some cash for it. I start to leave the bathroom, but Finn snags my arm and shakes his head. I've got it, Ans. I sigh and chuckle. Fuck, this is going to take some getting used to, but he's right. I can't treat him like a little kid forever. He's a full-blown adult with a grown-up job and a college degree and everything. Hell, he's adulting harder than I am, if I take all that into account. I walk him to the door and give him my key so he can let himself back in. Then, I wander back down the hall to find Luca in the living room. The floor looks bare without the rug in the middle of it, but other than that, there's no sign whatsoever of what happened here today. The wall is clean, and there's even a rough spot with drying paint over the bullet hole. He sits up as soon as he sees me, scooting to the edge of the couch and glancing behind me for my brother. He went to pack a bag so we can stay for a couple of days. He's going to pick up dinner on his way back. I fill Luca in as I cross the living room towards him. I grin and shove him forcefully back onto the couch when I reach him, then climb onto his lap, straddling his thighs. His cock immediately plumps, and so does mine, but neither of us does anything to acknowledge it. He just wraps his arms around me and lets me fold myself into him so I can rest my head on his shoulder. "How's he doing?" I huff out a humorless laugh. Better than expected. He's probably just repressing the trauma, but considering he still has finals to get through and a new job starting in a few weeks, it's for the best right now. He can deal with it in therapy once everything settles down again. Or, by getting really into rough sex and murder for revenge, since that seems to be the most popular way to cope around here. Luca chuckles, his chest vibrating against mine, the relaxed sound filling me with warmth from head to toe and solidifying the strangely normal feeling settling over me. Maybe I'm repressing a bit too, but I'm okay with it. They say most therapists go into the field to learn how to heal their own trauma, so at least I'll fit right in when I start my classes, I say, realizing as the words leave my mouth that I've already made a decision about what I want the next phase of my life to look like. I sit up so I can look at Luca. He's smiling, his eyes dancing with pride and light and the same deep, palpable adoration that's been there since the first night we met. I cup his jaw and drag my thumb over the rough stubble of his cheek. "You're going to apply?" "Yeah, I am. I have to do something to stay busy while my boyfriend is at work all day. I can't just lay around his apartment all day like a lump," I joke, and his grin gets even wider. "Does that mean you're staying?" I nod. "I'm staying." "Good," he growls, grabbing the back of my neck and dragging me close so our lips are only a few inches apart. "Because I was never planning to let you go." I laugh and bump my nose against his, then nip roughly at his bottom lip, savoring the hiss of his breath that puffs hotly over my mouth. "I love you." The words bypass my brain altogether and jump straight to my lips. I shiver as they fill the air between us, and Luca drags in a sharp breath, tightening his grip on the back of my neck. "Are you sure you're not just in shock?" There's a hint of teasing in his voice, but the mild tremor of worry is much louder. "I'm not in shock." I brush my lips against his again, more and more sure of my feelings with every hot spark that ignites between us and the warm fullness that swells inside my chest. In fact, I'm more clear-headed than I've been in years. You saw the real me when I felt like a shell. You wanted the dark parts of me, the ugly parts of me, the difficult parts of me, like no one else ever has. You love me, Luca Moretti, and I love you." His lips quiver, and he puffs out a trembling exhale that's not quite a laugh. "I want to tease you right now, but you're absolutely right, my little viper. I do love you. I love your beauty and your venom. I love all your sweet parts, and the salty ones too. Don't ever change. Just let me bask in the fiery glow." "Yes," I murmur breathlessly, crushing our lips together again in a fierce kiss this time, pouring all the too big emotions inside of me into the tangle of our tongues and the clash of our mouths. Of all the men in this city I could have robbed that night, I'm really fucking glad it was Luca Moretti. Chapter 18. Anders. Just seeing the neon glow of the Wonderland sign from a couple of blocks away makes my hands clammy and my stomach dance with a mixture of nerves and excitement. I picked the club to work out of because all the employees are chill as hell and the atmosphere is fun, but now all that is tangled up in too many memories that I'd rather bury. Are you sure this is where you want to celebrate tonight? We can pick a different club if it's still too raw. Luca squeezes my hand, and that alone is enough to give me a jolt of confidence and resolve. No way. All our friends are waiting for us already. A sultry smirk spreads slowly over my mouth. I lick my lips and look over at him. Besides, I've been half-hard all day thinking about recreating the night we met. Minus the part where you tie me up and rob me, right? He chuckles, and I lean in to playfully nip at the edge of his jaw, loving the rough feeling of his evening stubble against my lips. No promises. When we get close enough for the bouncer to notice us, his eyebrows fly up with a distinct look of surprise. He's shaved his facial hair down to a handlebar mustache since the last time I was here. The thick thatch of white hair wiggles subtly underneath his nose as he cracks a smile for just a second before returning to his usual impassive expression. He grunts, nods, and then lifts the rope to let us through. A wave of nostalgia washes over me as we step inside. The smells of sweat and alcohol and sex that hang heavy in the air are a sensory memory that makes my heart race and my cock start to swell. The flash of colorful lights and the thud of the bass reverberating in my chest feel like coming home in the strangest way possible. Walking in here dressed in jeans and a t-shirt, instead of the carefully curated club wear I used to wear, makes it easier than I expected to draw a clear line between then and now. That was the old Anders, the man I had to be to protect my brother, but I'm not him anymore. I'm a viper, ready to sink my teeth into anyone who crosses me. I walk a little taller, my strides falling into rhythm with the music as Luca and I make our way through the crowd towards the bar. As packed as the place is, it's not hard to spot our friends. They've claimed stools at the far end of the bar, and everyone else seems to be keeping their distance. Whether they recognize the Morettis, or their animal brains are just picking up on subtle danger signals and telling them to steer clear, I have no idea. Sparrow is taking advantage of the space by swinging his hips to the music, a drink in one hand, the other arm looped around Xaviaro's neck. Even though the hitman towers over him, Sparrow's presence is as large as ever, drawing every eye to him, including the adoring gaze of his stone-cold mafioso boyfriend. Uncle Sal is perched on a stool, wearing a stylish dark green suit and sipping a drink. And then there are 3 other men I haven't met yet. Shit. Am I about to meet the family? I do a bad Godfather impression, and Luca barks out a laugh. Looks like some of them, at least. Sorry, I didn't know Sal would spread the word. It's fine. I can handle it. Meeting my boyfriend's criminal boss is no big deal. Holy shit, is that Orion Barros? The MMA powerhouse? I choke. Yeah, I heard a rumor he was engaged to Elio, but I wasn't sure if it was true. We reach the group, and Sparrow lets go of Xaviaro to greet me with a hug before he takes the lead on handling the introductions. Alessio, Orion, and Elio all shake my hand politely. I'm not sure if I'm more impressed that I managed to keep it together in the face of Orion fucking Barros, or Elio, the underboss of the entire fucking family. Holy shit, you're actually alive! Another voice rises over the din of the club and the music to draw my attention. I turn towards the bar to see Mads, with his hands braced on the bar top, his usual top hat perched precariously on his head. He darts a nervous glance at Luca and then back to me. He sinks his teeth into his bottom lip and drops his voice just a little. I have, something you left here. It's in the back, if you want to come get it. I frown and cock my head. Something I left here? I can't imagine I would have left anything behind. Maybe something fell out of my messenger bag at some point? Mads nods and raises his eyebrows, giving me a significant look. Yeah, that thing you left here? It's in the back. His meaning sinks in, and a soft, fuzzy feeling fills my chest. I clamber onto the stool and kneel on it so I can lean over the bar top. His eyes widen comically as I take his face in my hands and press a smacking wet kiss to his cheek, accidentally knocking his hat even more askew than it already is. He reaches up to straighten it and gulps, his eyes darting to Luca behind me again and then back to me. What was that for? Thank you. I'm safe. I'm here with Luca of my own free will, and you don't have to worry about me anymore. His breath whooshes out, and his usual happy manic energy returns. Thank fuck. I wasn't sure how I was going to underground railroad you away from the Morettis, but I figured I had to try. I laugh and right myself so I can sink down properly onto the stool. You're a sweetheart, Mads. He snorts, but even under the dizzying, colorful bar lights, I can see the blush that colors his cheeks for just a second. What can I get you? A vodka soda for me and a whiskey for Luca. You got it. I'm training a new guy, so go easy on him if he manages to make his way down here. He jerks his head towards a bartender I haven't seen before, scurrying around at the other end of the bar. He looks completely out of his depth. He's slender and on the shorter side, and his overly large blue eyes give him an innocent look that's completely at odds with the debauched energy constantly flowing at Wonderland. His name's Ellis. He looks too sweet for this place. How'd he end up here? Alessio leans over to ask the same thing I was just wondering. Mads quirks another grin. Followed the white rabbit. He winks, then saunters away to get our drinks without any further explanation. You ever get a weird vibe in here? Like maybe all the employees have been eating too many mushrooms or something? Elio muses. Definitely, we all agree at once, then laugh. Mads returns with our drinks, and I swivel on my stool to face away from the bar, passing Luca's drink to him. He clears his throat and raises his glass. This is supposed to be a celebration, so I just want to take a second to embarrass Anders by saying how proud I am that he's been accepted to the university and will be starting next fall. My cheeks heat, and I smile widely. It's hard to believe how much has changed in the last few months since I met Luca, but I feel like I'm finally living the life I'm meant to. I reach out and snag him behind the neck, dragging him close until our foreheads are pressed together and his breath flutters over my lips. I couldn't have done it without you. Of course you could have. But I'm glad I was here to give you the push you needed. I suck his lip roughly between my teeth and shove my tongue into his mouth. Luca's moan vibrates into my mouth, and I swallow it greedily, tangling my fingers in his hair and yanking him closer to deepen the kiss. My cock swells, and my heart pounds in time with the sultry rhythm of the music that's blaring all around us. Someone clears their throat, and I smile against Luca's lips before reluctantly wrenching myself away from his mouth. To Anders taking the world by the balls, Sparrow says. I glance over Luca's shoulder to see him with his glass raised, and the rest of the guys following suit. I release my hold on my boyfriend and lift my glass too. I am no stranger to grabbing balls, that's for sure. I laugh and take a swig from my glass. I fucking love this song, Sparrow shouts, downing the rest of his drink. He slams his empty glass on the bar top, wipes the back of his hand over his mouth, and then grabs me by the front of my shirt to haul me out of my seat.
Luca. We stumble through the door, our tongues tangled and my lips aching from the sharp nips and the hard sucks Anders has been abusing them with for hours already, in between drinks and shaking his ass to the music with Sparrow, which was clearly designed to drive me out of my fucking mind. Every swivel of his hips came with a pointed, sultry glance in my direction to make sure I was watching. If he thinks taking my eyes off of him for a second was even remotely an option, he's fucking insane. I have a present for you. He grins against my mouth, tugging my lip roughly between his teeth again and threading his fingers through my hair. My cock gives a heavy throb at the perfect little jolt of pain that rushes through me. I jerk my hips, grinding my erection against his through the layers of our clothing, desperate to feel his hot skin. It's your night. Shouldn't I have gotten you a present? I murmur, licking my throbbing lip when he releases it and then kissing my way across the smooth edge of his jaw. He laughs and twists his fingers tighter in my hair, thrusting against me with more force as he pins me up against the closed door. You're my present. He licks a wet stripe across my cheek, and I shiver at how much of a claim it feels like. Do you want to see what I got for you? I groan and nod, jerking my head against the grip he has on my hair and relishing the slight burn of my scalp as it sets the rest of my nerve endings on fire. Good, Anders purrs, dragging his mouth back over mine. He coaxes me back into a kiss, less rough this time, all heavy tongue and bruising lips. Then be good and hurry to the bedroom. I want you naked on your knees by the time I get there. I moan again. Yes, sir. His breath hitches and his fingers twitch in my hair. Oh, I like that. I think that's what you should call me from now on when you want me to take you apart and make you scream. Yes, sir. I rasp again. Anders makes a low, feral sound in his throat, grinds his hard cock into mine one more time, then releases his hold on me. Better hurry if you want your present. There's a playful thread underneath the suggestion that part of me wants to test, just to see what will happen if I'm not good for him. But the promise of whatever he already has planned for me is enticing enough. I'll find out what happens to bad boys another night. I slip past him and run down the hallway, his laughter echoing after me. As soon as I cross the threshold into the bedroom, I scramble to undress, kicking off my shoes and tugging my tie loose at the same time. I keep my ears pricked for the sound of Anders' footsteps, my heart pounding with adrenaline and lust as I tear my shirt open and fling it aside. By the time I hear him coming down the hallway, I'm down to just my briefs. I quickly shed them and toss them into a pile along with everything else. The door creaks open behind me as I hit the floor, wincing when my knees connect with the hardwood. My hard cock bounces with the drop, and every inch of my skin burns for Anders' touch. He moves around behind me without giving me any more of a hint about what he has in store. I shiver with anticipation, my nipples hardening and my balls tightening. I hear a dresser drawer open and then close a few seconds later, then the rattle of something metallic. I don't bother trying to guess what he has in store for me. Not knowing is half the fun. His footsteps draw closer, and then I feel the heat of his body behind me, towering over me in this position. Do you trust me? He asks, brushing something silky along the back of my neck. My skin prickles and I nod. Always, I answer without hesitation. He hums happily and presses a soft kiss to the back of my neck. I shiver and let out a soft gasp. Anders straightens up behind me and dangles a scrap of black silk in front of my face. Enough to blindfold you again? I huff out a laugh and nod. Yes, sir. Anders gives a satisfied little purr and then puts the blindfold over my eyes, blacking out the world around me. Something metallic rattles again as he deftly ties the fabric behind my head. I let out a happy sigh, my shoulders sinking a little and my knees giving a small twinge of pain. There's such a beautiful, perfect peace in letting go, giving myself over to Anders and knowing he'll give me what I need. He puts a hand on my shoulder and I lean into his touch. The helplessness of being without my sight amplifies the feeling of his hands on me, the abrasive drag of the denim of his jeans against my bare back, the sound of his heavy, even breathing filling the room. My skin heats as he slides his hands down to my chest, brushing his fingertips lightly over my pecs, back and forth in a slow pattern, getting closer and closer to my sensitive, peaked nipples with every pass. I squirm and Anders laughs. His breath ghosts over my earlobe, and then he catches it sharply between his teeth. I gasp and my hips twitch. I can't get enough of you, Luca, he says in a low voice, sweet and commanding at the same time. He finds one of my nipples with his thumb and forefinger and pinches it roughly. I hiss through my teeth, my cock jerking violently at the hot rush that surges through me, pre-cum drooling from my slit. The jangle and clank of whatever he's holding gets a little louder, and then the unmistakable feeling of a thin metal chain dances over my skin. It's warm from being in his hand, but I shiver again anyway. Anders squeezes my nipple a little harder and a throbbing ache ricochets through me, straight to my cock. Please, I gasp, not even sure what I'm begging for. More pain, more touch, more Anders. He sinks his teeth into my shoulder, I moan and convulse, and before the pain of the bite has a chance to fade, something sharp pinches around my already throbbing nipple. Oh, fuck, I shout, jackknifing my hips forward involuntarily, humping the air with dizzying desperation. My nipple burns, pulsing with every beat of my heart, the sensation coursing straight down to my cock and constricting around my balls. Anders drags his hot, wet tongue over the spot on my shoulder that he bit, but I can hardly even feel it in comparison. I gasp for breath, and he pinches my other nipple the same way he did with the first. He tugs it and rolls it between his thumb and forefinger, every squeeze amplifying the blazing ache in the other one. He clamps it, and I thrash and thrust again. Anders, sir, baby, fuck, I whine. He tenderly kisses the back of my neck again. I knew my pretty pain slut would love his present. He runs his fingers gently between my pecs, the pain radiating from my nipples making even the slightest touch feel infinitely more intense, every nerve sparking and sizzling, from the roots of my hair all the way down to my toes. That metallic rattle sounds again, and both the clamps tug sharply. My cock jerks violently, and another wet rush of pre-cum pulses out to dribble down my shaft. This floor is too hard on your knees, and I don't think it's the good kind of pain, Anders says wryly. I rasp out a hoarse laugh. I was barely aware of the ache in my knees. Why don't you climb up on the bed and get on your hands and knees for me? He tugs the chain between the nipple clamps one more time, and I wail with need. It's hard to remember exactly how far away from the bed I was when I knelt down, and with the pitch darkness cast by the blindfold, I can't begin to guess. I fall forward onto my hands and knees and crawl slowly, extending one hand out in front every inch or so to feel for the bed. Anders moans, and I try to imagine what I must look like to him right now, crawling around helpless and blindfolded, my cock painfully hard, swinging between my thighs, bruises and bite marks both old and new marring my skin. It's humiliating and so fucking hot I can hardly keep from wrapping a hand around my erection. My outstretched hand connects with the familiar shape of the bed frame. I clamber up onto the bed and get onto my hands and knees like Anders told me to. The rustle of his clothes as he undresses feels like it goes on forever. My nipples continue to pulse and throb with every rapid beat of my heart, and so does my cock. Every inch of my body feels oversensitive and ready to ignite at the slightest touch. My hole twitches and flutters, achingly empty, and I twist my fingers around the bedsheets to remind myself to stay still and wait. The whir of his zipper makes me vibrate impatiently. We got tested a few days ago. Is tonight the night Anders takes me bare? Is he going to fill me up with his load and leave it dripping out of my rect hole? Look at you, he growls appreciatively. I'm so oversensitive I jump at the light touch of his hand between my shoulder blades. I have one more present for you. Are you ready for it? I whimper and I think I nod, but I can't be sure. All I can do is tremble and pant. The snick of Anders opening a bottle of lube makes my hole twitch again and my nipples pulse. I wait for the cold drizzle of it down my crease, but it doesn't come. Instead, I hear a squelch, and then his slicked hand wraps around my cock. I moan and jolt forward into his fist, my eyes rolling behind my blindfold and my cock swelling with an orgasm I'm already teetering right on the edge of. I can't, I gasp. It's okay, Anders soothes, stroking me faster, the filthy wet sound of his hand moving over my shaft filling the room. My balls bounce and ache with every jerk, and pre-cum pours from me to join in with the slippery lube coating his palm and fingers. Come for me. He uses his other hand to jerk the chain between the nipple clamps again, and blinding pleasure rushes through me, exploding from my core without any warning and racking my body with violent, blissful waves. Anders wraps his hand around the head of my cock while it pulses and throbs, creating a hot, sticky mess in his palm that clings to my foreskin and the head of my cock as I thrust and pant and moan his name over and over. My needy hole clenches over and over as my orgasm rocks me, desperate to be filled. I give up trying to hold myself up on wobbly arms and collapse forward to bury my face in a pillow, my hips up in the air, still jerking with the aftershocks of my orgasm. It slowly dawns on my pleasure-drunk brain that Anders didn't give me another present. But before I can form the words to ask about it, he slips something around my still hard cock. The tight rubbery object stretches around my shaft, and I wonder if it's a condom for a second, until he fits it snugly around the base of my cock, trapping the blood filling my erection and keeping me hard. The realization that it's a cock ring sends a pulse of pleasure through me that's painfully intense so soon after an orgasm. My head is spinning and all of my muscles feel weak in the best way. I can't think or move, but I don't need to. All I need to do is let Anders have me, and coincidentally, that's all I want to do. Another filthy, wet sound fills the air before Anders's body blankets mine, his hot breath ghosting over my ear. His cock nudges at the back of my thigh, dripping wet and sticky now. I'm going to fuck you with your own cum, and I'm going to fill you up with mine. Oh, fuck, I moan. Yes, please, sir. I start to push myself upright, but he puts his hand between my shoulders and forces me back down. He lines his cock up with my hole and teases my rim with the head, smearing my own cum and his leaking pre-cum over my twitching entrance. My hole is just as sensitive as my cock after coming once already, tingling and fluttering impatiently. I'm not even sure I can feel the ache in my nipples anymore, at least not directly. My entire body feels like one throbbing, pulsing, desperate erogenous zone. I'm almost positive that if Anders breathed on me hard enough, I could come all over again. I love you, he murmurs. Then he grips my hips and shoves inside of me in one quick thrust. I moan, biting down on the pillow and clenching around him, stars bursting in my eyes behind the darkness of the blindfold. Anders's chuckle turns into a groan as he bottoms out, his cock jerking and swelling inside of me, pressing up against my prostate. Fuck, you're so hot and tight. I could live inside of you. He digs his fingers harder into my hips, pulls back slowly, and then fills me again with a hard, jarring thrust. The jolt ricochets through my nipples and my cock, and I wail. Time ceases to exist. There's nothing outside of this moment. I only exist for Anders to fuck me and play with me and take what he needs from me. His moans and the steady slap of his skin against mine fill the room, but everything feels like a dream in the darkness. Pain and pleasure are inextricable. Every throb and twinge in my hole or my nipples is the same as his cock pounding over my prostate, and the jarringly soft kisses he brushes over my shoulders in between thrusts. I'm so close. You make me feel so good, he pants, picking up speed, fucking me faster and deeper. The bed creaks under us and the headboard bangs against the wall. I gasp his name and bite the pillow because that's all I can do. It's all I need to do to please sir. Luca, he shouts my name, his cock swelling inside of me, stretching my rim just a little more. He slams as deep as he can, and then I can feel his cock start to twitch and throb, pulsing against my inner muscles. The heat of his orgasm spilling inside of me, filling me up, marking me, sends me spiraling into oblivion for a second time. My balls draw so tight that I gasp in pain and pleasure, and my cock starts to throb untouched, dribbling out more cum that paints my skin in warm, sticky streaks as waves of pleasure crash over me. So good for me. So perfect. I love you so much. Anders murmurs praise, kissing every inch of skin he can reach as we both ride out the last aftershocks of our orgasms. I collapse underneath him and his cock slips out of me. I wince and hiss, and he whispers more soothing words that I can barely hear over the rush of my pulse in my ears. I drift in and out of consciousness, and when I blink again, the blindfold, clamps, and cock ring are all gone, and I'm cuddled close to Anders with his arms around me. When we can move again, we should take a shower, he says, carding his fingers gently through my hair. I laugh weakly and nuzzle my face into the crook of his neck. I'm not sure I'm ever going to be able to move again after that. He chuckles. Can I tell you a secret? Of course. I yawn and close my eyes, lulled by the steady rise and fall of Anders's chest. I used to take boner pills when I had to... You know. My breath hitches. We haven't talked about any of this since his father died. I figured he wanted to leave the past in the past, and I understood why. I tighten my arms around him and press my lips against the thumping pulse in his throat. Not with me, though, I tease lightly. Not with you, he confirms. You were different even that first night. I don't know why, but you were. So are you, little viper. I never asked anyone for what I wanted before you. No one had ever hurt me the way I craved, and no one else has ever fucked me. The confession is tight in my throat, but it's a relief as soon as I speak the words. He pulls me even closer and kisses the top of my head. I love you, he says again. I love you too, and I'm going to make sure you know it every day for the rest of your life. The rest of my life? Sounds like a pretty long time. Are you sure? His tone is teasing, but I can hear the underlying uncertainty faint in the question. I'm positive, little viper. I went through all the trouble of kidnapping you after all. He barks out a laugh and nuzzles his nose into my hair. I suppose you did.
Epilogue. 6 months later. Anders. Are you sure I was actually invited? Finn whispers, the fog of his breath hanging in the icy air as we make our way up to the shoveled walk to the modest house outside of the city. Your family, Luca says, like it's the most obvious thing in the world. My chest fills with warmth, and I slip my hand into his. Of all the things I love about my soft mafioso, how thoroughly he's accepted my brother as part of our lives is definitely in the top 5. He didn't complain when Finn picked an apartment just a few buildings down from our place. He never bats an eye at the weekend movie marathons we rope him into, and he always makes extra pancakes when he cooks breakfast, just in case my brother stops by, which he always does. When I told him I couldn't come to his Nana's house for Christmas and leave Finn all by himself for the holiday, he gave me a quizzical look and said, Of course Finn is invited. He's family. So here we are, about to have Christmas with a bunch of mafiosos. The door swings open before Luca even has a chance to knock, and a small, wrinkly woman in a bright red Christmas dress greets us with a welcoming smile. I miei ragazzi, she booms in a voice that's so much larger than her tiny stature, pulling Luca into a hug. Hi, Nana. Is Mama here yet? He asks. Of course. She pats his cheek. She's been here since this morning, helping me with all the cooking, unlike the rest of my lazy children. Hey, I've been here for hours. My hands are stained red from all the tomatoes I crushed, Salvatore protests from somewhere inside. And I made bread to bring over, so I helped cook. Elio, the underboss of the Morettis, shouts from inside as well. I made bread, another voice corrects him. I'm guessing it's his MMA fighter husband, Orion. Nana rolls her eyes and then turns her attention to me. I shift on my feet and thrust out my hand in greeting, but she ignores it, pulling me into a crushing hug just like she did with her great-grandson. Benvenuto, she says, kissing each of my cheeks before she lets me go. My heart swells in my chest again, and I laugh, not because anything is funny, but because it's almost too much to realize that maybe Finn and I can have a family, even without our parents around. She greets Finn just as enthusiastically and then ushers us inside. It's warm, and I don't just mean the temperature. Everything from the garlands to the twinkling lights feels cozy, like home. Almost instantly, everything feels chaotic and wonderful, with a flurry of introductions to family members I haven't met yet and hugs from the people I already know. But no matter who is hugging me, I hang on to Luca's hand, tethered by the feeling of his fingers laced through mine. What do you think, little viper? Too much? He asks in a low voice once attention drifts away from us. I lean into him and rest my head on his shoulder, watching as Finn gets pulled in by Lorenzo, wearing a Santa hat and a pair of fuzzy red pants, explaining how the white elephant gift exchange works. I think it's perfect. I sigh happily. I think I love you, and I'm happier every day that I tied you up and stole your watch. Luca throws his head back and laughs, looping his arm around my waist. So am I, he murmurs, nuzzling my ear, then pressing a kiss there. So am I. This has been Desperately Delicate Viper, Mafia-bound Book 4. Written by K.M. Neuhold. Performed by Nick J. Russo and Declan Winters. Copyright 2025 by Kylene M. Neuhold. Production copyright by Kylene M. Neuhold. Thanks for listening.
Audible hopes you have enjoyed this program.